a real treat because we've got them right here. Flip City Magazine. Remember Mad Magazine? Then it went woke? Well, don't worry. Flip City has no chance of going woke. That's right. 4 times a year, you'll get an actual printed magazine full of jokes, stories, comics, and more, all about today's pop culture, entertainment, and woke politics. Flip City takes terrible entertainment trends we love to hate with hilarious parodies of Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Star Trek, Hunters, and more. Trust me when I say there is nothing else like Flip City on the market. So subscribe today. It will be delivered in print, or you can even get it digitally if you're one of those wacky Zoomers. Either way, follow our link and sign up today, and if you put in midnight, you get an extra 10% off. Check out Flip City Magazine today. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Midnight's Edge in the morning. It is hump day. Hopefully you're having a good one. We have with us this morning the boss man. How you doing?
Greetings, everyone. I'm doing good. I just swallowed wrong, so I just came from a coffee bit here, but
oh, lovely.
Not all good.
That's what she said. But anyway, we also have with us Culture Casino. How you doing?
I'm fantastic. It's a lovely Wednesday morning, and I just had a good show and a great video I'm very excited about. So, yeah.
Well, that's, you know.
Oh, good for you. And how was it?
It was very good, actually.
Good. Glad you.
Yeah. Speaking of great videos.
Yeah, Paul is the guy who just keeps cranking them out, I guess.
I don't know.
I am the cranker.
I'll never get to see my damn TV guide video.
Keeps getting it is in the middle of being written. It just takes me a while to write them. He doesn't believe me.
I believe you. I know what it's like to write things.
I was judging you harshly.
I don't mind. It's okay.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, I did a video today on expanding on the Hills article on why are old shows more popular on streaming than the actual new streaming shows. But it was inadequate. So I put on my former network executive hat on and expanded on it greatly. So
that's a great topic because I retweeted that news out. And as I said, I mean, are we surprised? This the same thing that happened in music, video games, comic books, movies, and now television. So why are you surprised?
Why is the old shit more interesting? Boy, and you know what? It does not take a deep dive to analyze what it is that's gone wrong.
Here's your video. Why is the older stuff selling more? New stuff sucks. Well, kids, good to see you today. See you on the next video.
You know, the whole idea that you would stop doing what was successful before might be a clue.
Right.
But
you know, we sold a lot of burgers before. Then we switched to fish. We stopped selling burgers. I wonder why.
The network formula is a little bit different from comic books, which is just people stop making good comic books. I mean, for the most part, there's still some good ones, but I mean,
well, there was Comicsgate and Gamersgate. And that didn't help.
From the network perspective, it really has a lot to do with audience size and the fact that the networks that really were most capable of cranking out 24 episodes of something every single year, and the fact that they would produce 40 shows and then renew only 5 of them every single year, just made for an incredible cream rising to the top kind of experience, and that which has never been duplicated. And now that the networks have retrenched and are just trying to either attract sports audiences or the remaining old folks that are on over the air aerials, they're just a shadow of their former selves. So they're not doing what they used to do. And in fact, all we're getting are 18 versions of Chicago something, or, oh, look, another NCIS. That's a lot of crime that happens in the military and the Navy.
Another Big Bang spinoff.
Yeah, well, there's that too. Yeah, something. So it's now we're just the halcyon days of network television are dead. So we're never going to get another Modern Family. We're never going to get a Seinfeld.
No.
And so it's a convergence of a whole bunch of things. So the old is going to be the old. That's it.
Yeah,
nothing left.
Yeah, and that's just it. And you're 100% right. And what's sad is they're slowly finding their way back around to the way things were 30, 40 years ago with television and cable, basically. When it comes
there's nothing stopping the streamers from, picking up on just what it is that made TV good. And one of the things that, if you take a look at The Witcher or Rings of Power, or we've criticized them on multiple levels, including whatever that Witcher spinoff was, Blood Origin. I've never talked about this, but the key to television and what makes it different from a movie is that you're actually bringing a family member into your living room. Television is more like your Uncle Harry coming over for Christmas and putting the lampshade on his head again every single year, and you're supposed to laugh at it. That's why bad actors actually are often very good on TV. So like Murphy Brown, whoever that lead actress was, she's not a very good actress. Candice Bergen.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a problem bringing her into your living room. She felt more like a member of the family. And that's something that no one talks about in TV. So when you take a look at Blood Origin, like, okay, let's talk about Witcher. The person who was the member of your family was the Witcher. You wanted to see him over and over again. Really, you didn't want to see anybody else. You didn't care. No one else was member of the family. So the person that didn't want to bring into your living room was, Henry Cavill. Like, that just makes sense. And no one likes Galadriel in Rings of Power. Actually, no one likes anybody in it. So really, television, this is why people have Q ratings, like why Robert Urich had so many TV shows, because people just liked him. They wanted to have him come into your living room. You're not watching stuff on TV. You're inviting people into your house. No one talks about that. That's not how a lot of shows, they approach that. That's why Ted Lasso, the first season worked really well. Because you wanted to those are friendly people, non-threatening. You're happy to bring them into your living room. Now, the subsequent seasons.
Well, I mean, you can make an example for James Garner, Lee Majors.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Their Q scores were incredibly high.
And Lee Majors was no great actor.
No.
But no culture. You're exactly right.
Yeah. I mean, TJ Hooker would not have been on the air as long as it was. As much as I love,
Shats.
The Shat.
Hey.
Yeah.
That was rude.
Sorry, brother, you could not jump over the hood of a car, but the ladies could.
That's what I had them there for.
And that was the secret of TV, is the friendship. It was, you were bringing friends in.
Yeah.
And that's what the streamers don't understand, apart from the fact that they can't, for whatever reason, crank out 20, 24 episodes a year.
What happened to that? I mean, when
streaming and cable happened to that, Priceline.com.
Well, I agree with that, but I mean, I grew up with 24, 26 episodes of television every year.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was it started with cable, like HBO, the Prestige. Prestige shows,
right?
The big stuff.
And so what that was is where they were spending almost as much on one episode as you would for an entire season of a show. Remember? But out of that, we got like The Sopranos, Weeds, Entourage.
Yep.
The Deadwood. I mean, there's a huge list.
They still did a lot of episodes per year. And
Game of Thrones eventually,
yeah, and they kept a schedule every single year too. HBO was pretty good. They were a nice hybrid. But now, we'll wait 2 years before the next 6 episodes of something, and they'll be on at a different time. And one of the things that the streamers go nuts over is that they feel they're in the movie business. They're not. They're in the TV business, but they don't know how to have episodes with stories that finish off in just that one episode, even if they have an overarching arc. Like, yeah, bless their hearts, let's have that big story arc. But they seem to stretch just a couple of ideas, like a Wheel of whatever that thing was. They stretch one idea out way too long and then bring the punchline in at the very end. They just don't know how to do episodic TV where you need to have a satisfying experience every single episode.
Yep. Yeah, they wouldn't know what to do with themselves if like they had to do the old school.
And
Even
I
the
think there's a
hour-long
bit of-
series,
I
right?
think there's also a bit of snobbery once you get into streaming. Oh, I'm not interested in rinse and repeat. Oh, the Rockford Files. Oh, it all ended in a nice little bow every single week. Well, no, that's why you watched House. That's why you watched Rockford Files, because it reset every single week. And the beginning of the next episode, you were starting from scratch again. That's what you wanted. You didn't want changes in character and all that. It's comfort food. And
Right,
it's
you
a
even
different
had-
genre. Don't be embarrassed by the fact that it's comfort food.
Yeah, and you always had the same type of gimmicks to keep your guys, you know, in this kind of recycling cycle of, you know, we have to introduce them, tell them who they are by introducing new characters. The great examples of that is you have like the Incredible Hulk, or Highway to Heaven. You know, they're basically the same show. The only difference is one has an angel, one has a Hulk, right? They're basically people going across country being social workers.
Right. And people don't like change. So for instance, Rhoda, huge rating success the first 2 years until, for whatever reason, the actress decided that she wanted to jettison her husband and be a single woman. And then the show plummeted. So the show was built on her and her relationship with her husband and kid, right? Then they jettisoned the husband and the show plummeted because now it was a cheat. It was no longer what they said. They lied to the audience. So TV, you have to be careful that you never lie to your fan base.
Well, same thing with films, and I think that's the reason that everybody's rejecting all this entertainment across the board, whether it be film or television. So you're right.
True. Yeah, it works in film. Obviously it works in film too, but I'm more used to TV because that's really where I come from. It's what the streamers don't understand.
But that's what, unfortunately, what these franchise films became.
Yep.
Were TV.
You're right.
Yeah. And then they doubled back to TV in these streaming shows. So it's like this really bad circle jerk of television becoming films becoming television again. It's just
Which
bad.
in a weird way, why Andor had the most potential of, apart from the Mandalorian first season, probably had the most potential of any of the Star Wars TV products. But they blew that also. So yeah, it's fascinating. And like I said, there's nothing stopping from streaming doing what network we're doing from a technical perspective with every single episode. The one thing that they'll never be able to duplicate is the gigantic volume of scripts and pilots that networks created to whittle it down to the top 20, only to end up with one show. I mean, that will never be duplicated. But that's also why we got surprises like the A-Team and Knight Rider and Baywatch.
Well, and think about just how much Larson stole to actually make shows that we loved. Yeah, Glenn A. Larson. What a great character.
And you even got shows that lasted one season that the networks didn't like Time Tunnel, but are still talked about now. Like there was something about the show that people loved about Time Tunnel, and so they had a good idea. And they spent a crap load of money on it. Anyways,
we're
being told to move on to the Beatles cinematic universe.
Well, we kind of took over a little bit.
I think we're done. We're done.
Yeah.
I think we did a good job on it. Let's move on.
Okay.
Indeed. Let's move on. Yeah, because we have other news. We don't have any massive news just yet. We'll see what breaks over the course of the stream. We have a couple of super stickers and stuff. Dr. Long Dongler sent us a thumbs up for £1.99. Thank you so much, everyone. Please smash that like button. Help get the word out that we are indeed live. The show is about to begin here. And John Doe says for $5. In streaming, you can't make season 2 while waiting 18 months to get paid, so you can pay off your loans. And it's 2 years to get your next 6 episodes.
Yes, this is the Netflix problem right here, what John Doe is explaining. And this is why I wondered why the studios even wanted to get into streaming in the first place. Because they were well aware of this. They knew Netflix was always late on paying their bills. Like, you can go back in the time machine, and there's tons of stories about this. So I'm sitting here going, when did they ever think that Netflix was so profitable? That's what I kept hearing and reading in the trades, and I think Culture might remember this too, is like, they were always barely just making their, making their bottom line at the end of the day most of the time. They weren't nearly that profitable as you think.
Yeah, yeah.
They do have a nice lobby.
Okay. Have you been in their lobby?
I've seen pictures of it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And they did start making a little more money when they started doing more original stuff, but that was also supported by the stuff they had from other places, right? Like the stuff from, Warner Brothers, Sony, Disney, what have you, that would get you in the door usually still, or at least something you would know you would watch when you weren't watching Stranger Things or whatever,
Right.
But you only get, like you said, 6 episodes of that, and you got to wait 2 years. That's almost exactly what's happened to that show.
Yeah, and again, that comes down to like budgets and writing and everything else. It's not, most of these things aren't treated like they're episodic television. We haven't had quality writers, going back to the conversation we just had. We haven't had the quality writers that are required to give you 24, 26 episodes a year. Heck, they can't even deliver 18. I mean, if you get 6
to 12, if you're lucky, yeah.
Yeah, and
and even then, it's basically like with the Disney Plus shows. It's just a movie that's split up, right? We all know, we can tell.
Or it's 2 good episodes and then a filler, and then a good episode and 2 fillers, and I mean that's how they break them up. They just, I don't know what happened. And then you have somebody like Paul who sits down in his little studio room there and crafts a really funny thing and spits it out every day or every other day. So.
Yeah, I like these small things. I'm working on another screenplay. This one's a bit tougher.
You might want to work on rephrasing that first line, but
sorry. It just comes out.
That's what she said. Oh my. But with that, I got some breaking news.
Oh.
Via the Daily Bugle. That's right. The Daily Bugle. Hell has a new movie. It's called Mademe Web. It's showing now. And they're screaming in agony as we speak. They're like, no, just turn up the fire. Turn up the fire. We can still see the movie. So yeah, that gets us on our main topic of the day. Mademe Web has been humiliated. Like, this has been, look, I'm not trying to beat, somebody when they're down, but this movie it deserves it. It needs to be made fun of. It needs to be pointed at and say, this is the problem right here. I hope we've reached the end of the line with this. That video you did yesterday, Andre, was brilliant. And I do see it. The media and Hollywood are starting to freak out.
Yeah, and deservedly so. And the point that I want to make, which I also stressed in the video yesterday, is that some people on X, some people that used to write for Forbes, were of the opinion that the problem with the movie was that the superhero chicks, the bottom of the battle spider chicks from the trailers, they weren't really in the movie. If they had been in the movie and the movie really had been this superhero team of all female spider chicks that were gay, then it all would have been great and everyone would have been happy and the movie would have been a smash hit. No, I submit that the mere presence of them in the trailers is what killed the movie. If it just had been Dakota Johnson, I don't think it would have been so bad. I think the presence of those spider chicks in the trailers is what killed the movies, because that is what just told everyone, oh, this is the Marvels all over again. That people are so fed of the whole put a chick in it, make her gay trope, and that is exactly what the trailers promised.
Well, you never saw the girls in costume because that was in Dakota's mind. That was her. She was able to
when her future flashback or future flash forward or whatever.
Flash forward.
It doesn't matter because they were. You don't know that from the trailer.
No, that was dishonest.
Yeah, and that killed the movie. Because it would. That's what I think. I really think people seeing them and seeing that picture of Jordan of like that Sweeney chick. Who apparently is super popular and has a following of 20 million on various Instagrams and stuff like that, which only goes to show how out of touch I am with what kids today like, because I've never heard of her. But apparently she's this super duper popular influencer woman, and just that picture of her in that black mask with her resting bitch face upside down, I think that scared people away from seeing the movie. It certainly scared me away. Like, I only saw it because I had to. My wife made me because she wanted to. Not for them, but for Dakota Johnson, who was the best part of the movie.
She owes you.
I think everybody involved in this was sold a bill of goods. I think that that's how we ended up where we are, and I think that's one of the reasons why Dakota Johnson is given, given credit by, I guess, us for not seeing the film or being interested in it.
That's the most recent revelation, that she apparently hasn't seen it. Not because she has anything personal in it for this movie, at least she may have, but that she hasn't made that explicit. She makes the case that she doesn't like to see any of her movies.
That's pretty typical of most actors.
Yeah, because they're their own worst critics and just cringe seeing themselves on screen. And that's
just want to move on.
But in this case, when the movie is already struggling, apparently there are some that have latched on to that and think that she hasn't done enough to help promote it, because she seems like it's too awkward and everything like that in the promotion of it. Which, looking at the finished product, can't really blame her for, especially when Sony really cut back on the promotional budget because they spent 65% on it on social media, which left only 35% for actual promotional events, cutting of trailers and stuff, meaning this was actually a really low budget marketing campaign. Now, that is something that has Tom Rothman's fingerprints all over it, wouldn't you say, Tom? Because that's something that he's been known to do whenever he sees that this movie or this doesn't have a chance. Then what he does, he's going to start saving money on it where he can, and that means saving money on advertising. Like, okay, you know what? Maybe we don't need to send you to Japan and to Korea and to Australia to promote this thing and put you up in 5-star hotels on a paid vacation with some canned interviews. Maybe we'll save some money on that. I think that's what they did here, and obviously that was for the better.
Yeah, this is this is a glorious disaster, but not like Morbius, to where Morbius was just fun to make fun of, and it actually wasn't a bad watch, right? Like, it's a bad movie.
I like Morbius.
You can kick back with your buddies. I'm not a drinker, but you could drink some beers, have a pizza, make fun of it. That's the kind of movie it is. This looks like it's a slog. And Culture, you've seen it. So as far as that goes, which one is probably the more entertaining of the two, would you say?
Oh, Morbius. I hate to say it. I hate to give any of these.
How is that even in doubt? You can have fun with
I just wanted to have confirmation.
Look, they misused the talent in the film 1,000 different ways.
What, this one or Morbius or both?
In this one.
No, Jared Leto was used appropriately.
Yeah, Jared Leto is a meme in and of himself, but in perfectly used in Morbius to create more memes. But you can't even enjoy Mademe Web for the memes. I don't know. Paul, did you see the film?
Nope.
You're a smart man.
I haven't seen one meme yet for Mademe
In
Web.
order for there to be memes, some people need to go, and enough people need to go see it for the memes to make sense, for one thing.
Oh, that's true.
And also the people who make memes in the first place were good at it. They set this one out. I mean, this thing isn't even worthy to make satire of.
Well, it's our fault, So
I feel like it's our fault.
It is. It's our fault for being such racist bigots.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like a thumbs up, everyone, or like a high five.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're being accused of, right? By Mendelssohn and all those guys.
Yeah,
I can't even believe Matt Baloney went down this road. I mean, didn't he kind of leave, what was it, Variety or wherever he was at because of this kind of shit? Like,
we don't know the details of his leaving. But he is not the one that says that. He was quoting a Disney executive. It's not his opinion that, the fans are such horrible, regressive people.
Well.
That wasn't his opinion.
Mendelssohn, though.
Mendelsohn, though, Scott Mendelsohn, his opinion was that no, that it flopped has nothing to do with the movie. It has everything to do with the movie not having enough chicks in it that were gay. That's not literally exactly what he said, but that's kind of like the conclusion of it, because he felt that it needed more of those bottom of the barrel Spider Women. That's what the movie needed. They didn't have enough of a presence in the movie. Whereas I say that no, it needed to have even less of their presence in the trailers. That's what it really needed.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it's my fault, as Dinner Bell says here. Adam Wolford's in the house and says in 5, it says that'd be the hype for Stranger Things is lower from one season to the next. Most writers can only write 3 seasons. I missed 26 episodes of seasons. Well, that's where they have no excuse. They are literally doing a whole run of show like 1 or 2 seasons of a show is normally. Right. And that's the other thing is, to me, if you watch most shows, and I was an avid television show watcher before, you know, cable went to shit and networks went to shit. I mean, like, most shows don't even hit their stride until 2nd or 3rd season. It just kind of takes them that long to kind of get into what they're doing. And that's usually when we go back and watch these shows that last longer, 3rd, 4th season is usually the best seasons, if you think about it, because that's where they've gotten to know the characters well enough. They've established the jokes, or if it's a comedy, that is, or the concept or the gimmick or whatever you want to call it. And yeah, it feels like you can actually live in that world, like Paul was saying before, too, in a way. We're inviting them into our house, too, at the same time, but they're also inviting us into their world, right? We get to live with them weekly and for most part of the year, right? And now it's like we're lucky if we get to see them every other year, like you guys were saying there. So, yeah.
Yeah, that is the problem with Stranger Things, is that you're not getting it every single year.
No, it's more like a movie series than it is a television series.
Yep. I heard the most recent one, 4, was a good run, and I haven't even seen it yet. I keep forgetting to even watch it. I was a huge fan after the 1st season. 3rd season was not good, but
yeah. And I also notice if you're watching a show and there's a lot of changes throughout the 1st season, that's a good sign. It's not going to last much longer.
Well, there's just some shows that run out of steam.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my favorite shows of all time, which is going to be a weird call, is Grimm. My wife and I did not miss a single episode. It kind of went off the rails a little bit, but then brought it all back together in the last season, and it was a good finish.
I only saw the 1st season.
Pardon me?
I only saw the 1st season of it.
What did you think?
I thought it was all right. Didn't love it. Like,
we loved it.
I caught the 1st season. Never got around to any of the subsequent seasons, but I was like, yeah, okay, fine. Like, it's fine.
We
I
had just a great time with all the German names for all the Stundwufer and and all the different creatures were the Tanglanger or something. I don't know. We're just howling with laughter. It was always a tongue-in-cheek show too.
Well, let me just say this. Once you get to that 3rd season, if you still have the same writers, they're going to start stealing from other shows. It happens all the time, especially in comedy. And if you're looking, just look back in time, watch what happened with Friends, and then every other show that came after Friends that had similar theming, and all the way to How I Met Your Mother and Big Bang Theory. They were just stealing from Friends, even, beyond the episode titles, obviously, but just the pickles and predicaments that everybody found themselves in. And you know what? You can even go back further, look at Three's Company and how, the crazy situations that Jack and the girls get into. And guess what? Those are repeated in other comedy shows after that in different ways, but it's the same stuff. It's because they ran out of the ability to think of new things. That's like, okay, we have some fresh ideas. Okay, now we're out of fresh ideas, so we have to repurpose other people's ideas. It's just,
I miss the golden age of TV when they're like, what if your dad was a car?
Your mom.
I know
it was a car. But if you've got strong characters in a strong location, then you can have like Laverne and Shirley.
Yeah.
Which was a very funny series.
Well, and
which borrowed a lot from Lucille Ball and Vivian Vance.
Yes. Yeah. Look, I mean, if anybody doubts, one of the greatest ladies in television was Lucille Ball, then they have not really paid attention to television. I mean,
Sure.
she really, I mean, from at every level, including from production to, everything. I mean,
She
you
gave us
wouldn't
Star
have.
Trek.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, if you go back to their original shows, I mean, they're basically you go back to the 1950s and 60s, that's basically the handful of concepts that you have there for television shows, right? And they just keep
Well,
respinning out
Desi
similar things.
Arnaz also invented the rerun.
Yep. But I mean, like basically every sitcom is either Honeymooners or Lucy or Andy Griffith, right? Like they're
I'm
one of
telling
the
you,
three.
The Flintstones was nothing like the Honeymooners. Nothing. I can't tell what the similarities were.
One of these days,
hey Bonnie,
I'm gonna slug you.
Listen, that scene with the Honeymooners, the two guys,
Norton and
Norton doing the golf thing. Okay, address the bull. Hello, bull.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Classic
I'm
television. They only got one
guarantee
season in the
that
original
went
run.
straight over the head of 99% of the audience.
Yes. So
Yes.
just keep going.
Yes. Titties is in the house and sends in 14 South African rands. Something that never goes over anybody's heads. They like to go on heads, though. Clarkson should have put Alan Smithee as director. Well, I think she's going to suffer the most.
It's a reference to director S.J. Clarkson, the proud director of Mademe Web. And here's the thing, that whenever you direct a movie that you're not happy with and you want to remove your name from it, then the typical name that is a pseudonym for the director wants nothing to do with this is Alan Smithee. I believe that tradition was actually started with the TV cut of David Lynch's Dune.
Oh, it goes way back farther than that, actually.
Okay, well, that's the first example that
There's
I
been
know
like
of.
I think close to 500 movies where Alan's, maybe not that many, but well over 200. Yeah, there's over
the
at
ones
least
that I
200.
know of, it's that one and Hellraiser Bloodline. The final.
Oh no, there's many of them.
Hellraiser
Many of
movie.
them.
That one was also Alan Smithee.
Even the Alan Smithee movie, the director ended up leaving.
Yeah, there's a movie called Alan Smithee.
Like it's not like it wasn't even like a joke. It just unironically happened that way because he got into it with a studio and he's like, "Fuck you guys." No, this
The
is
Alan Smithee biopic directed by Alan Smithee.
That's what they need.
You can't even write jokes like that.
No. But no, Clarkson, I think, is going to be the one who suffers the most from this fallout. What do you guys think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that this one is going to be bad for the careers of everyone involved. Worst for Clarkson, and I really hope that she has a lot of good friends in the realm of television to welcome her back right there. I mean, she's white, but she's a woman, so that helps.
Apparently, she directed 2 Game of Thrones episodes that were so bad.
Yeah, but that's bad. That's bad because it was a pilot. It was really high profile. It was a pilot for a brand new Game of Thrones series.
That's what. Okay.
If it had,
you know why they didn't pick it up?
Have made her, but it was too woke. So she flushed 30 million down the drain on that.
And Paul, do you know why they didn't pick it up?
No, I don't know.
It was even too woke for them.
Yeah.
And that isn't even our reporting. That was somebody else reported that. I can't remember who it was, but
yeah, I mean that's not our words even. But cultured, who do you think will be the most damaged from the failure of Mademe Web?
Oh, it's definitely Clarkson. I mean, I would never. I would never hire her. I wouldn't hire the writers. Okay, it took the 4 of them to destroy this film, basically repurposing a script that supposedly was good enough to draw in these young stars that were up and comers and Dakota Johnson. So I'm perplexed as to why anybody would hire her. She doesn't do particularly good things, and the only thing that you could even give her a positive credit for would be the episode of Succession that she directed. But as I've made the point, that's a point and click show. The director is a director in name only because everything's kind of staged and walk you through it. And that one was easy. But everything else that she's been tied to has been marginal at best, if not repulsively bad.
Still waiting on her Star Trek 4.
Yeah, look, if anybody gives her money to do that, they're dumb, and I count on Paramount to do dumb things.
Oh no, her version was like 5 years ago, dude. I was joking.
Oh
Yeah.
well, you don't know that it couldn't get
She was
greenlit.
like version what 3.0, I think of
Something I don't remember which. I think
Yeah.
she was the first version after J.J. Abrams.
maybe
When
that
they
was it.
decided, you know what, let's go really super duper woke on this and
Yeah.
try to appeal to the diversity, equity, and inclusion crowd. That's when they went with S.J. Clarkson as the director, because she's apparently a true believer in the social justice cause and all of that. So yeah, she has all the qualities to be an appealing director for anyone who's into that. Problem was they didn't find enough people who were into that and willing to put money up for their beliefs in sufficient quantities that they actually couldn't make Star Trek 4 from it. HBO did take a chance on her to direct or to be the showrunner of their Blood Moon series, and not only is there no Blood Moon series, they flushed 30 million down the drain on the pilot. So even though yeah, so as a director, she actually has a negative track record, and the biggest thing she's done is actually individual episodes of Jessica Jones for Netflix, individual episodes under another showrunner that basically told her to point the camera and shoot. Her big way out was to be a feature film director, and I submit that she only got the opportunity to do that because she's a woman. Otherwise, she hasn't displayed anything as a TV director, certainly not that I have seen, to suggest that she, over any other TV director, should be considered for major feature films. And I certainly feel that she botched it in this movie. Just ignore the box office. This was a poorly directed movie, you ask me.
Well, yeah, and it's not everything about it is bad. It's not just the direction. I mean, that certainly doesn't help, and the editing was garbage. I think that editor probably is going to have limited options in the future, and the dialogue was just terrible. And you guys, I think, pointed it out that of these four writers, anything that they're involved in writing, as far as for a theatrical release, hasn't scored higher than 30% on Rotten Tomatoes. So it's not like they're, knocking it out of the park when they craft something. So it's nuts. Look, and a lot of people, and especially the criticism that's been leveled against us as commentators and as people who critique things, it has been, we're not progressive enough to give accurate information. I'm like, dude, I don't even have to use the word woke or this is a pure intersectional feminism party time. And
You know how they talk about you need to fish where the pond is.
yeah,
I think what they're trying to do is develop the pond first.
they got no pond. They
They have
haven't
no
had a pond.
pond. Well, they're cranking them out now. I mean, the cancel culture, the way the schools are running. You just watch a Peter Boghossian video, and you're going, "Oh my God, these schools are crap."
Yep.
So they're cranking them out. They're cranking out a whole bunch of unemployable people who,
Yeah.
ironically, won't make any money to watch your project anyway.
Correct. And we do have a related story to go with this, actually. Some something that just dropped.
Oh, I
Tom,
saw that one.
if you check the private chat here, Six found us a perfect segue story in Deadline Hollywood, because it appears that there are more who are unhappy with the wider implications of the performance of this movie. I'll see if I can bring it up here.
It's on the screen.
Perfect.
On the screen.
Yeah. Because Deadline Hollywood reports that women-led film fell close to 30% in 2023, near a 10-year low per study from the Annenberg Inclusion Institute, and basically they are. Yeah, thank you, Paul. That's exactly the reaction I was hoping for. This is an organization that I take it that you are familiar with. Can you take us through? Who is this organization that has come up with this headline that that is not enough women-led movies, and that's really, really horrible, and it needs to be addressed. Stat.
All I know is it sounds like a line from a Monty Python sketch from the Swedish Institute of therapists. Of it's pick a Swedish city name, and then throw it in there. This is absurd.
Yeah, this is USC Annenberg.
Oh yeah.
Culture, you're familiar with them.
Well, yeah, they give us a report every year about inclusion bologna sausage. I mean, this is from an American philanthropist who had a husband who was by far a better and more well-educated person than she is. She's also responsible for the destruction of journalism and other things. She's a one-woman army when it comes to pushing all of these things.
This is the Huntington Post woman or whatever.
No, this is what's her name?
Worse,
her last name's Annenberg.
Influence.
Yeah. Anyway, the whole point is she's basically creating all these lists and studies and things to try to force this perspective. And it's been going on for a while. We've covered these stories before, maybe not with her name directly associated, but like I said, everything involved in this is just, it's a paid for study. So they find what they want to find. And honestly, the women-led films fell by 30%. You can't point at us for that reason. You have to point at the studios and what they're making. Well, they're trying to make these DEI, cornucopias, and they kind of lock them into very specific things that they can do in film. What's surprising to me is that really means they're releasing less or fewer films, because in which we're actually reporting, and we're going to continue to report that the number of films being released are going to be quite few coming up in the next few years. And so if you release fewer films, of course, you're in the majority of your films are driven by females, like the one we were just talking about. You're just releasing less films. Why are you releasing less films? Because you forced a bunch of inorganic garbage into your films instead of actually focusing on the storytelling.
Yeah.
But
let's read what this story says, because the agenda is very clear here. Because look at what they bemoan in the very first paragraph. Even as state legislatures consider restricting or eliminating DEI initiatives. Now that is put on a negative spin. Like, they bemoan this. The whole purpose of this article is we have to stop this. We need to keep the DEI initiatives. But moving on. Even as state legislators consider restricting or eliminating DEI initiatives at public institutions, the percentage of women of color, and women 45 plus in films in 2023 has plummeted to lows not seen in almost a decade, according to results of a study released this morning by the USC Annenberg Inclusion Initiative. And yes, that does sound like something from Monty Python. In fact, those percentages are the worst since 2014, despite Barbie. That's them telling, don't be like Bob Iger. Don't rest on your laurels. You need to do better. Do better, Hollywood. It's a difficult lesson, but one that must be restated. One film does not represent progress across the industry and cannot bear the burden of lifting the industry to inclusion, wrote the study's authors Catherine L. Neff, Dr. Stacy L. Smith, and Dr. Catherine Piper. You will note there's very little diversity among those three women. USC Annenberg analyzed the gender identity, racial ethnicity, and age of leads and co-leads across the 100 top-grossing films from 2007 till 2023. In other words, they were looking for problems and something to complain about. And they found it.
What a shock.
The findings are awful, wrote Neff, Dr. Smith, and Dr. Catherine Piper. Despite posturing the legacy studios have dealt little or reversed course on inclusion in popular films. They stress that one film, even if it's the year's biggest, cannot make up for the relative dearth of representation in the remaining offerings. You hear that, Hollywood?
You
need
mean
to do
you mean
far
everything
more
everywhere all the
female-centric entertainment.
time? That didn't count. Oh, it didn't
No,
count
it
because it was
didn't.
Asians.
No, they
Sorry.
didn't count. I don't think they counted it. The results this year point to an industry grown apathetic about efforts surrounding diversity and inclusion. While it's critical to celebrate the achievements of significant films like Barbie, there must be more than one or a handful of films that reflect the experiences of women and people of color each year. Until the industry stops hiding behind a single exemplar, nothing change will remain elusive. Yeah, they apparently didn't see Madame Web. According to the authors, only 30 of the top 100 films of 2023 featured a female identified. Notice this. You don't have to be born a woman. It's sufficient if you identify it.
Correct.
At the center of the plot. That
Anything to boost those numbers.
Yeah.
Sorry.
30% was substantially lower than the 44% tallied in 2022. Yet, females represent more than 50% of the US population and half of the movie-going audience. And basically, they're of the opinion that women need to see themselves on screen. And then the article goes on, but this is the gist. And then they go through the percentage of the different studios, and then it concludes. The study's authors offered the following advice to studio boffins. It is time for experts to guide their decision-making rather than rely on internal mechanisms for change from the others. Of course. So basically, here's the thing. Hollywood needs to hire them here.
Yes.
And this next thing, and hire more women behind the camera. Why? The numbers would seem to indicate a relationship between who is working behind the camera and who is seen in front of it. So basically, they do not have to do anything to earn more money. They don't have to do anything to increase the movie-going audience. It's just a matter of, for DEI and the sake of inclusion, hire much more women and do much more female-centric stories is the recommendation of the Annenberg Institute. And if Hollywood is in doubt, the women behind this study will take it upon themselves. They'll do the sacrifice to guide Hollywood. They'll guide them if they just pay them enough millions and pamper them and send them on enough 5-star hotels and hook them up in North Hollywood and stuff like that, then maybe they'll consider taking one for the team and showing Hollywood how it is to be done.
You know what I would recommend that they do? Make a fucking movie. You do it. Let you guys, you're complaining, make the movies you want to see. Hire the people that you want to hire. There you go, done.
Yeah, I'd love to hear their thoughts on Madame Web. I mean, they should be super happy with that movie. It had women behind the scenes and women in front. It should be perfect.
Why do you think they're scrambling?
For them.
Like you said, Andre, in your video we dropped yesterday, like they're trying to cope with this so hard that they can't even deal with the facts when it's right in front of their face. They're trying to. They're literally going back to page 1 of the playbook again. And we're sitting here going, no. You've had what, 3 or 4 female-led flops in a row? You're done. And the studios are going to say the same thing. Tom Rothman is one. And like I said, the first and foremost, he's going to be like, nope, fuck this shit. That's why they're retooling the Amazon series. I'm sure that the Silk one's going to get killed. The only one that still has a chance is probably the Spider-Man Noir one. And just now they're finally getting around to talking to Nicolas Cage about it, because that's probably what somebody in the upper echelon finally said is, well, the only thing we got here that's worth a shit is this Spider-Man Noir series, and you don't even have Nicolas Cage attached to it.
He was good in the cartoon.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's like the only synergy you got there right now. And then on top of it all, they didn't even have the third part of the Spider-Man animated films ready to go like they should have. Those two, the second film should have been, and third film should have been animated at the same time. The third film should have just came out.
Well, I think, and again, my only pushback on that, Tom, would be that the first film didn't necessarily.
I understand, and I agree with you.
Made.
But that being said, they should have mitigated the cost, knowing that, okay, this is our ceiling on this, and then that would have been a huge surprise to them. And can you imagine had they had that movie ready to go out now or even 3 months ago on the heels of the other one?
Huge.
Exactly. Now you got people sitting there and waiting, going, when's this coming out? And you and I both know it takes a couple of years to make one of these fucking movies.
Yeah.
The animated ones. I mean, they're getting it down in time, but it still takes a couple of years. It's not like a regular movie where you go out and you shoot for a couple months and then you edit and it's done and out in 6, 7, 8 months to a year. Like, it takes a lot longer than that. But anyway, I didn't mean to derail. Andre, continue.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's it's all good. But yeah. So no, but actually, I think that organizations like this is a problem, because these kind of organizations, these NGOs and various stuff, they have really been pushing Hollywood in this DEI direction to the detriment of Hollywood and culture at large. Because these Annenberg people, they're a big part of the reason why Hollywood has gone this aggressive in its messaging. And you also have like similar organizations that also release these lists of the LGBTQIAP plus representation every year for all the studios.
Wi-Fi password people. That's what I call it.
That's one way of putting it. And yeah, they do this publicly, gets all the trade and everywhere. They basically shame all the studios that haven't done good enough. Of course, no studio does good enough. It's never good enough, ever. That's the thing that you have to understand with these kind of organizations. They are there to identify a problem, and their purpose is to provide their own services in resolving that problem.
Yeah,
if
that's
that
the
problem
issue
is ever resolved, then they would need then there's no further need for them. Like, for instance, I forget the name right now of the organization that does the LGBTQIAP plus thing. But basically, they're never happy. It's not like, oh, we want this percentage and then we're good. No. It's like a revolving target. The real target is 100% of everything has to be LGBTQIAP plus. And the moment it's short of that, they're not happy. And they always want something to be better. Like, they never appreciate anything. It's like the same thing here. We see this report and they just, oh, it's horrible, fell close to 30%. Really? So this year we had Indiana Jones. Like, just look at the high, because there's like the thing, they count the top 100 films. Well, what if you just look at the top 10 films? Do that. What happens if you look at the top 10 films, the movies that people actually go see? That's where you find the Marvels. That's where you find your Indiana Jones. That's where you find Madame Web. I'm sure if they were to look at the top 10 films instead of the top 100 films, they'll find that that women-led films has gone up by more than 30%. So to me, this seems just like deceptive how they do this. You're not looking at overall impact or anything. I just see deception here.
Are you sure about that though, Andre? Because I mean, I get where you're coming from, but would that be falsely kind of bolstered by Barbie?
No, here's the thing, because look at what they're saying. They're saying that they're looking at the 100 top grossing films from 2007 till 2023. And that's then the 100 per year, 1,700 titles overall, right? And when you look at 100 titles per movie, like, for instance, if they had looked in not 100 movies per year, because the moment when you look at 100 movies per year, we are now down into the niche movies, the movies that have budgets in the $5 to $10 million range, the ones which are niche and specialty movies, and as well stuff like that. You are no longer looking at the things which have the mass appeal. You're now looking at the much wider things. If you were to look at the movies which actually have commercial appeal, if you were to look at the top 10 movies per year, then I don't think that they would find that women-led films fell anything at all. I think they would see that they increased year by year by year. Because if I were to tell you, gentlemen, that from the year 2022 to 2023, according to these numbers, women-led films fell by 30%. And this is in the same year that had the Marvels and Indiana Jones and all that jazz. This is the year when female-led movies have gone down. I mean, does this pass the smell test?
I guess I'm still kind of confused at why. Yeah, I mean, I guess the other part I understand because you said 2007 to now. But as far as the other side of it, no, because we've had more female films it feels like in the last few years.
Exactly, it feels like that because we don't see 100 theatrical movies per year. We see maybe 20 theatrical movies per year, and the way that the ones we pay attention to, profile ones. And they are the ones which are the most women-led. Now, if you want to create a problem, if you want to create some illusion that there's far fewer women-led movies that there actually are, you know what you do to achieve that? Well, then you just include more movies in the selection till you get to the smaller indie movies which aren't subject to DEI criteria that actually want to make money. The moment you start including those, now is when you start including your Jason Statham and Sylvester Stallone movies. Then obviously things are going to start getting diluted. But that's a matter of you being a little bit deceptive in how you arrive at the figures.
Yeah, I'm
Certainly, I
still
would
not
suggest
sure.
that when you count 100 movies per year and that is your selection, then I submit that that is being done to make the problem of lack of female representation look bigger than it actually is.
Well, when you limit your sample size like that, I mean, you can kind of fudge the numbers around.
Yeah,
You know,
you can
if
fudge the
you're
numbers by changing the sample size, and that's what
yeah
I see here.
yeah
Because I
100.
think that if they were to use a smaller sample size, if they were to use the top 10 or the top 20 biggest movie per year instead of the top 100, they would arrive at the opposite conclusion. Like, I haven't done the numbers, but I submit that if we were to do the numbers, if we were to look at the top 10 movies, the numbers of female-led productions we would find have increased in the same span that this study finds that it has decreased simply by having such a massive selection. Who cares if the representation in some no-name movie that no one is going to see, because you'll have quite a lot of those when you do 100 releases per year. What you care about are the big profile that people actually go to see. You want to count those? You do 10 or 20 per year, not 100.
I'm gonna need some graph charts here, Andre, I think, to explain this to me.
Yeah, maybe I'll do some.
And
I'm
I
thinking so.
posted something, a link. I know whether you can get it. It's a chart actually that relates to television staffing that shows just how much the underrepresented have now become the overrepresented, at least from 2020. I'm trying to find something a bit more recent. But are they going to retrench? Are they going to now pull back now that women and BIPOC people are actually overrepresented in key areas? Or now they're going to go, oh no, we better
Yeah, can you
pull
send me
back.
that link? Because I think because that is actually accurate. Because with the rules that Disney and Amazon have right now, they are ensuring that everyone other than white males are overrepresented.
The link is in our private chat. It's right there.
And I see what you're saying there. There might be a
see it.
correlation in that.
Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah.
So click on that. We can talk about that. But I mean, as of 2020, the tables have already turned. So all those charts that you've been discussing and everyone has been dredging up, including our friend Elon, that's all old news. They're way past the goalposts in almost every single category.
And apparently, I don't. Yeah, sorry, carry on, Tom.
I was just gonna say that's probably where they're coming from desperation in this article, because I think it's kind of clicking with me now, even though I'm having one of those mornings. As IMAV pointed out here, Tom is a little slow today. Yeah, I didn't get much sleep, so yeah. But thank you, IMAV, for the $1.99. But yeah, no, I'm kind of trying to wrap my head around this a little bit. But are you saying it's because the increased amount of movies that were put out featuring women, because they put out more movies,
what I'm saying,
less
Tom,
people are going to
is
see
that
them? I'm trying to, yeah.
what I'm saying, Tom, is that the movies that have more representation are the higher budget ones. Those are the ones that you
Right.
see. And the smaller the budget gets, then you get into movies that actually want to make money. That's where you find your Jason Statham, your Stallone productions. You find your smaller, like, teen comedies and stuff like that just wants to entertain, and they have to do so by attracting an audience. The movies that are made for 20 million and cost 40, they're not going to be too concerned with DEI and stuff like that. The more such movies you include, the less female-centric movies they're going to be in that total pot, right?
True. And then when you're spending more money, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but if you reduce it so you don't look at the top 100 movies, which is where you include all of those cheaper movies, but you look at, for instance, the top 10 or the top 20, now suddenly it's going to be lopsided, because this is where you're going to find your big DEI movies. This is where you're going to find your Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destinies and your Miss Marvels and Quantumanias. These are going to be in the top 10 and top 20, right? So if you count them, and then you can just the movies that people see, and then you cut out all of the other ones, then you'll be left with a massive amount of diversity and female-led productions. That's pretty much all you're going to see in the upper echelons, which is why I think they count the top 100, because then you don't see it. You see it if you count the top 10 or top 20.
So we actually have... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, because that is how you're able to deceive. That is how you are able to project an image that, oh, things are really bad. We need to keep our diversity initiatives, because women-led films fell last year, when in reality, for the big productions, it increased.
Well, next year, what's not going to help this, or is it this year that it comes out? Either way, we just found out, this is a great example of, I think, of what you're just talking about, Andrea. Correct me if I'm wrong. You have the original Joker, which was made for, what, $60 million, I think it was
55.
initially? 55. Okay. They're making the sequel now. They're reporting the budget is $200 million. But this one stars a woman. So now, is this a candidate to basically set up exactly what you're saying? Is, okay, you had the original film, which played well, male lead. Now you got the second film with a female lead, and they went and jacked up the budget. So of course it's not going to make nearly as much money as the first movie, even if it is successful.
Yeah, well, this is not a matter of making money. This is just...
No, I know, but I mean, overall, like, let's just say now, let's say this movie falls off a cliff and it only does half as good as the first one.
Yes, that would be a very good example. Like, since they have, first of all, that's insane. If they have jacked the price up to 200 million, that's insane. But if they've done that,
Lady Gaga
they've gone female-centric, they've increased the number. Now the movie has a break-even point of 600 million, and then let's say it does 700 million. The movie is now a disappointment. It went female-centric and it disappointed, whereas the first one was a success beyond anyone's wildest dreams. It would be another go broke story in a sense, and they set themselves up for it.
So let's revisit this one more time. So the way that they framed the sample is out of the top 100 films.
Yeah, that's what it says here.
And the way that they also framed the sample was, of those top 100 films, how many? So that means the good films. How many good films are represented?
No. It's a matter of those, the top 100 films, how many are female-centric?
Yeah, but those are good films. They're considered the top 100 because they made money, right?
Yes.
So they're actually...
it's the top 100 highest grossers.
Right. So what that tells me
they're good or not
is that women can't make money in film. They just clarified that position. I would say this is a fairly based approach to things. Then women can't make money in film. If you have female-led films, they don't make money.
That's exactly what I was getting at.
Well, that's one reading of it, but that's not the reading they're presenting. The reading that they are presenting and they're trying to push is that Hollywood needs to do better because it's not enough diversity in films.
It doesn't look. All their efforts in diversity, which Paul was pointing at, hasn't yielded earnings because the women who are getting all these jobs aren't qualified clearly, or they don't make good things. I mean, take your pick. But this is the problem with this type of stuff. We're looking at something called journalistic framing, and now my camera zooms out. So there you go. Anyway,
You got so tiny.
well,
tiny.
I think I know
when
what
I do that, it zooms out. But anyway,
I think I know what Culture's saying. He's saying as they've actually increased the amount of films that women star in, they've made less money. But in 2023, so are they saying that what fell though, the attendance or the actual box office? That's what I'm trying to figure out here.
well, I think of the top 100 films, the number of women-led films that would represent ladies fell out of the top grossing, which means women don't make money when they make films. Please don't hate me. I'm taking away what this article wrote. I'm not saying that. They're saying that. They just framed it differently so it would be digestible and people's perceptions would be led to the fact that, well, more ladies need representation. Well, if you're already over 50%, how much more representation do you need? As you know, we've been pointing out with the DEI baloney sausage that Disney's been forcing into everything, and same thing with Amazon. How much more representation do women need so that it could crack, being, I guess, more competitive with men in the top 100? So let's make 70% of films female led. Is that going to change these numbers? I don't know. I mean, Vogue magazine in 2023 put out a list of 18 films directed by women that they were looking forward to see. Let's go through them real fast. You have Cocaine Bear. You have Ray Lane. You have 1001. You have Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Polite Society. About My Father. Joyride. And Barbie.
That's a pretty good run.
Sure, but how many of those films did you see, Paul?
None.
Did you not see Cocaine Bear?
Nope.
I saw Cocaine Bear, and it was awful, and that's because of the director. That was a movie that was killed by its director.
And the bad writing. It needed another rewrite. It didn't know what it wanted to be. The tone was all over the place. It's like you got to pick one. Either you're going to be a horror movie or you're going to be a comedy. You can be both, but you've got one scene where your bear is viciously mauling somebody in like a horrific, way, and then the next scene you got this hilarious scene where the bear kills a bunch of people, but it's because he's chasing them down the road and they end up killing half of themselves because they're trying to get away from this bear. Like you have such a bouncing between tones. It reminded me of the movie Teeth, and I doubt you guys have seen that, but that's a female-led movie, horror film. And the problem with that movie was it's a great concept, but the movie didn't know if it wanted to be a horror film or a comedy. It's like you got to pick one.
Yeah, and you know whose fault that was, Tom?
Who did that one? I can't even remember who did that one.
It was the director. It was that chick with the Charlie's Angels. What was her name again?
No, it's the same one. Elizabeth Banks.
Yeah, she made both of those?
Yeah. Here's the thing.
Yeah, she needs to stay the fuck away from those because they're great concepts that need a great comedy writer with a tongue-in-cheek kind of nature to come in.
She rewrote it. She rewrote it to suit her vision, and that's how the script was fucked up. I heard this from behind the scenes afterwards, that the script was actually perfect, and it was they had found the perfect balance, but then Elizabeth Banks came in, and she had to put her own stamp on things because she came in, she saw the script, she wanted to redeem herself, and then she got a vision of how it should be, and how it should be was all messed up and all over the place. But since she was a director and no one could mess with her because she was a woman, mind you, then she proceeded to muck up the whole thing.
Look, all I'm saying is with this article, and sorry, Tom, I just very quickly, if you remove the journalistic framing that this article is written with, right, just this myopic lens that Hollywood lives in, not everything is in LA. Folks, then you end up with the perception that women make terrible films and they aren't capable of cracking the top 100, with few exceptions. I mean, Greta Gerwig, obviously, this year with Barbie, in 2023, despite my thoughts that film was too man-hating to be successful. Apparently, a lot of women hate men, and I just wasn't prepared to hear that. So, but it did end up being in the top 100, if not one of the most, if not the most successful film of the year. I think it does have that title for 2023. And if that's the case, they just need women to make better films. Maybe Greta Gerwig is like one of the few people that can maybe teach other ladies how to do that. I don't know.
Greta Gerwig's writing partner is her husband, and he's the same dude that writes for having an Alzheimer moment, like that dude who did Asteroid City and stuff.
Oh, Wes Anderson.
Yeah, Wes Anderson, yeah. Basically, the writer of Wes Anderson.
I can kind of see that in Barbie now that you say that.
Yeah, and he's her secret weapon, because he's the guy who basically added pretty heavily to Barbie.
So
Barbie is pretty much a Wes Anderson movie. Now that you say it, I can see it.
So are you suggesting that it takes better men to? Because that would be dangerous to do.
I'm not suggesting anything. I'm just saying that the husband of Greta Gerwig, who happens to be the writer for a bunch of Wes Anderson movies, he was heavily involved with the writing of Barbie, and you can take from that what you will.
And I'll tell you, there's still a decent movie in there. The problem is the ending and how it was resolved. Right?
Oh, like it has to be perfect.
No, but it's just basically you have one movie and then the ending is a completely different movie. That's the problem.
I just, speaking of women directors, I've been wondering, like, what's happened to Catherine Bigelow to be like, what's happened to her career? Why isn't she directing stuff that we know of?
Let's see what she's been up to.
Well, she has to be offered stuff in order to direct, and
yeah, that too.
If the industry doesn't consider her hot, it's like, yeah, okay, we need a woman, but you're a little bit too old, so we think you've expired on date right now, and you're also not diverse enough. So really, that's reason enough for the industry.
Yeah, she hasn't worked much since like
elsewhere.
She was pretty somewhat steady for a couple of years there. Now she's got some Apple iPhone 13 Pro Hollywood in Your Pocket video is her last.
I'm not saying it's fair. I'm not saying it's fair. She is a far better director than many who have gotten shots undeservedly so several times over. Elizabeth Banks, I'm looking at you. But it doesn't matter because Catherine Bigelow isn't considered hot within Hollywood, even though she's much more talented than others who got way more opportunities.
What you had happen here is...
yeah, but like physically, but in terms of just talent and having momentum.
She had like The Hurt Locker, then Zero Dark 30, and then after that, she just did movies that nobody saw.
Yeah.
Like The Protectors, Detroit, I Am Not a Weapon.
And all I never even heard
movies. That last one was a short film, actually. Actually, a bunch of these are shorts. So she's just like barely working.
That's what I mean. When you do shorts, it's because you have to prove yourself. You have nothing better to do. And that's because within Hollywood, I don't know if she's on some kind of blacklist or something. I couldn't tell you. But what that tells me is for whatever reason, she doesn't have momentum within Hollywood. And that's a shame because she has far more talent than many others who get the opportunities, but that doesn't help when they have momentum and she doesn't. Just look at for a star example here. Kathleen Kennedy. She's a producer that will hire on momentum. Is this filmmaker hot in this moment? Well, then you're hired. And the moment you're not hot anymore, you're out. Unfortunately, there are many people in the industry who are like that. And when Kathleen Bigelow, just for whatever reason, ends up being a little bit forgotten and isn't part of the conversation, the offers ain't coming. It's unfair. I'm not defending it. It shouldn't be that way, but that's how it is. They want to push female director. Right there, you have a female director who's fantastic, which is completely ignored. And so are many, many others.
I mean, yeah, that's probably the part that bothers me more than anything with this whole thing is this idea that, you know, we don't go see movies because of the female directors or whatever. It's like most people don't give a fuck who the director is, and they don't even know who the director is. They, you know, just to correct ourselves, It was a man who wrote and directed Teeth. So I don't know if you were
Yeah, no, the chat was correcting that. But yeah.
Yeah, but so either way, my point is like, yeah, the ones that are decent, you're right. Like they don't give them the work, but what we need here though is I don't know. I need to see some charts to understand this fucking article, Andre. Because I'm still not quite sure what it's trying to tell me.
Yeah, we'll deal with that.
You know what? I think we're giving it way too much play.
Yeah, I can tell you the gist of it though. This article and the institute behind it are telling Hollywood, you need to do better and put more women and people of color in charge of Hollywood. Hire more women, fire men and hire women, and do more female-centric movies. That's the ultimate purpose of this article. That's the gist of it.
What I do, I don't even know what I did.
I'm probably not getting the point of the article, but yeah.
Well, it feels like some parrot analytics shit they're trying to sell me to. That's the other problem.
Well, that's the key. That is their goal. The entire article is irrelevant because they want to be Anita Sarkeesian. That's
Yes.
it. That's the
That's
whole
correct.
point.
That's correct. That's the gist of it.
They're
trying basically to sell in themselves as consultants for telling Hollywood how to do it better, and they fudge the numbers in order to do that.
And I look forward to their review of Drive Away Dolls.
All right. Well, let's get into the super chats and see what you guys are talking about there. We got Snake Eyes sending in £2.49 or €2, sorry, not pound. Says Mozart is Asian now in Sky's new series. Are you serious? In an Amadeus series, they made how can you make Mozart Asian?
Well,
because he's really good at the piano.
Well, he's Austrian, so he's white and problematic.
Like, don't you get it, Tom?
I didn't know that was a thing.
Piano and violin.
Karaoke, I knew. Oh, okay.
Piano and violin.
Yeah, so
Yo-Yo
come
Ma,
and look me Amadeus, I guess, because now he's Asian.
Evidently. Weird. I didn't even know they were doing this.
No, neither did I.
It's the first I ever hear of it, and I wish I never did hear of it, but I'll have to look into it now. It's, there's some people that have tried to tell themselves for some while now that Mozart was black in like some retroactive history. So yeah, it is ridiculous.
Had they even seen a black person at that point over there?
Well, the average populace of Vienna, no.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not even being facetious here. I'm like being serious. Like, most people at that point over there probably hadn't. And I'm not even that good at history.
Yeah, no, the average people that didn't regularly travel on boats to Africa and stuff, no. No matter what people are retroactively trying to tell you right now, the black people weren't that plentiful in mainland Europe in this time frame.
This is kind of weird because I just watched Amadeus like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, maybe a couple more. But
yeah, and I listened to Rock Me Amadeus by Falco 2 days ago.
Good song.
So yeah.
Good. I always felt sad that those two, the movie and the song, were not one and the same. Like I always thought that growing up as a kid that song was from the movie. It had nothing to do with the other. Hi, King Fenior, Alpha Chad of Middle Earth. That's a hell of a name. Sends in $5. Says, can we talk about how much Rings of Power has broken Amazon Studios, canceled shows, mass layoffs, increase of ads, and increasing sub price? Yeah, they're shutting down Freevee too, I guess, from what I just read here a little bit ago. And Six also shared in the back here. Culture. This has been going an ongoing steady flow of layoffs, not just at Amazon though either. It's kind of everywhere. Paramount, all sorts of places.
Yeah, I mean, we're starting to see mass layoffs across the board. Stuff that I was talking about was going to happen is happening. You're seeing this happen around all of these efforts. One of the other things that comes along with this, as you guys know, is the reduction in total amounts of shows produced. Casting is down. Everything's down right now. They're just not going to make as much entertainment anymore. The death of peak television has actually happened and taken the entire studio industry with it. Amazon, the Rings of Power, is for a lot of different reasons, and I can't say explicitly here, considered a failure by the person that pushed the hardest for it. That's a real problem. You have you have ad revenue dropping substantially, and I have a feeling that there's a lot of weight put on the studios now, so much so that they actually had to start charging for commercials to people who were Prime members. So I don't know
that
what else
pissed a bunch of people off, I heard.
Yeah.
I guess I have to correct myself. They're reporting now that there is no change to coming to freebie despite reports. So thank you for pointing that out, Six.
Well, as far as the shutdown, sure, maybe they won't shut it down. Are there changes coming? Well, they didn't. They told you there were no changes coming to several of the things that have had recent changes. So I wouldn't take Amazon's word for anything. No change in the price of Prime. We're just going to start charging you if you don't want to watch ads.
I would have just started Rings of Power from complete scratch again.
They should have. They didn't, but they should have.
Bring in a completely new team. Cut the budget. Yeah. But yeah, it's not looking good for Hollywood right now in that sense. Space Jettison has been a member for 2 months. Says, I've seen the meme regarding Mademe Web on Tank Sinatra's IG page. Instagram. I don't do the Insta-ticks. I don't know if Culture or somebody can look that one up for me. But yeah.
What am I looking for?
The meme regarding Mademe Web on Tank Sinatra's IG page.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah,
and I don't.
One meme. Wow, that's so impressive. One meme. Actually, I think I saw one too. I did see one meme.
I got it here. I got it here. This is the one meme.
It's the same one that I have seen.
It's pretty close to the meme I got too, that I posted there. So yeah. Remember, you're the madam of this web. You're Mademe Web. Actual dialogue from Mademe Web. Kind of reminds me of this meme here. I don't know if I'd consider these memes, right? Like these are just pointing out how bad the movie
memes, aren't they?
In a way, but they're not like the Morbius memes, right? Or the Agatha memes.
But more people saw those.
It's
more people to make. There are more people to make memes of them.
True, but I'm just saying, like, I mean, the Morbin Time thing was a big meme. The Agatha All Along meme.
Yeah.
But for those who can't see what's on the screen here, because it is kind of small, did I share this here yet?
I'm reading it. I'm reading it, trying to find the lie.
Yeah, all these events happen in Mademe Web, except one. Can you guess which one is the lie? Mademe Web is born in a cave in Peru with the help of a magic spider people.
True.
3 spider women never get powers and are only seen in costume during dream sequences.
True.
Evil Spider-Man is killed by a large Pepsi sign.
True.
Mademe Web becomes wanted for kidnapping by the NYPD.
True.
Mademe Web runs down Evil Spider-Man in her car twice.
I think it's just once.
It should say in a car or a vehicle, because this is the one people have been debating, because this does happen, but it happens in 2 different vehicles. Anyway, Peter Parker is born but not named.
True.
Mademe Web inexplicably splits into 3 ghost-like copies of herself near the end of the movie.
True.
And that's correct, because I'm kidding. They all actually happen.
Yeah. No. I like that you left that off the page, so I couldn't read that.
It is down there, way at the bottom, in really small writing.
Yeah, but she only runs him down in the car once, and then proceeds to drive said car, which is a yellow taxi cab with the front end totally torched, for several other days. She even parks it at the airport. I'm not kidding.
Somebody told me she hits him with the cab and the ambulance. That's why.
No. Well, she shocked the bejesus out of him in the ambulance, or actually one of the other girls did. They used the paddles that you would normally use on somebody to restart their heart. They used the paddles on the roof of the ambulance. So spoilers. Okay, sorry. I love Pepsi.
Is that why you love Pepsi, Don?
I found one meme here too.
Oh. Ouch.
Wow. Hey, could you imagine if Marvel had actually leaned fully into A-Force?
There is a joke somewhere here, though, about the fact
somewhere in there.
Not in this, but like the fact that Coke used to own Columbia before Sony bought them, and now that Sony has them, here we are 30 years later, and a Pepsi sign kills a villain in one of their biggest movies of the year. There's a joke in here somewhere.
You've been working on this joke for 4 days. I tell you what, make the spider villain Michael Jackson.
The problem is nobody else knows that Coke owned them back in the day unless you tell them. So it's
make the joke that it's the evil spider guy, the spider villain, is actually Michael Jackson at the end, and then you've got a joke.
Yeah.
Only
is there a way to work into the joke that Pepsi at one point owned a navy?
Also not surprising.
Yeah, it's true.
I remember hearing about that.
Pepsi they had like the 5th biggest navy in the world at one point. Because I don't remember the details, but they were able to buy a ton of like surplus navy stuff, submarines and everything from the fallen USSR. And they handed it over to the US government. But for a while there, Pepsi was like the 5th biggest navy in the world. At least they had under their control. There's a movie in there somewhere.
Yeah, speaking of Michael Jackson, though, as Culture just brought up,
yeah.
You guys know they're doing a biopic right now.
Yeah.
They've been putting out some images and stuff. Looks really good. But there was a talk of another musical biopic yesterday. Did you guys want to get into that a little bit?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
For those who don't know, we're getting a Beatle movie, or should I say plural, movies. Let me get the story here if I can find it. Of course, when I'm looking for it, I can't find it. All right, deadline here. I got this one here. That'll work. Whoops, wrong button. So yeah, this just broke yesterday. As the #1 movie in the box office is a musical biopic, we get news that Sam Mendes, Sony, and Apple Corps have set 4 Beatles theatrical movies on Paul McCartney, John Lennon, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr, all to be directed by Mendes. In a movie that ought to make fans of the Beatles twist and shout, Sony and Oscar-winning filmmaker Sam Mendes and his Neil Street Productions have set plans to make 4 separate theatrical films, one on each member of the music's most famous enduring band. Mendes will direct all 4 films, and this marks the first time Apple Corps Limited and the Beatles, Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, and the families of John Lennon and George Harrison, have granted full life story and the music rights for the scripted film. Mendes his grand vision. He'll tell interconnected stories, one from each band member's point of view. The dating cadence of the films will be revealed closer to the film's release. I'm told they are locking down writers quickly. This is perhaps the most ambitious project Deadline has ever revealed exclusively since our break that Tom Cruise and director Doug Liman are teaming with SpaceX and NASA to shoot a narrative film in outer space. That complicated project is still on the launch pad at Universal, but plans are set for Sony Pictures Entertainment to finance and distribute worldwide, full theatrical windows in 2027. So yeah, this is kind of interesting news here, and it is quite an ambitious undertaking. Now, I always thought if they're going to do a Beatles biopic film, it almost would have to be 3 movies, but that was just because you'd have to capture like the 3 eras of their career, right? Is the Beatles. But what do you guys think of this idea of actually getting 4 separate movies, one each from the point of view of one of the members of the band? Go ahead, whoever wants to start for Culster. You want to start with this? Did he step away?
I don't want this. I know Sam Mendes could be trusted with some things. This I don't think anybody could be trusted with. I don't want this. I don't want
What's
it.
it going to be? What are the individual movies supposed to be?
Each one will be like John's movie, Paul's movie, Ringo's movie. You remember when the Kiss did those 4 separate albums?
Yeah,
and released them at the same time.
Yeah, the solo.
This is the movie
solo.
concept of that.
Yeah, it's a terrible idea.
So one could look like a Wes Anderson mindscape.
No, Sam Mendes is going to direct them all. They're all going to be in the same world. The only difference is going to be the point of view of the characters.
Exactly, because here's like the thing, and I see why they're doing this. And
Money.
culture, like I'm surprised that that you're not excited for this. I would have thought you would have.
I know, but not. I'm really not. I mean, look, we don't really know. There are only 2 of these guys left alive. One of them is, a little out there. And the 2 most interesting guys are no longer with us. And unless you've got an awful lot of information from their lives that you can deem accurate, which anything coming out of one of the parties that you would go to, I would not deem accurate, is all going to be a lot of fluff that, supports the modern political movements. I don't want that.
I got to give Chili some shit here. One of the biggest movies of last year was a biopic.
Bob Marley also blew up this.
Bob Marley's number 1 right now. Yeah.
Biopics are doing very well.
Yeah, no, yeah. Sorry, I'm not trying to give you shit too, Chili, but yeah, I think you're a little misinformed there.
Well, I tell you what, Barbie was a huge biopic.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Ironically, that one rewrote the history completely about its creator. But yeah, anyway, moving on.
No, I'm kind of confused here too. I thought culture would be excited for this. My only thing that has me kind of worried is I think Peter Jackson would have been a better choice than Sam Mendes.
And that's
this is
exactly
his idea. I mean, at the same time, I guess you can't take that away from him. But
look, I mean, you look outside of what Jackson was able to do with what he did, and you have the same concept. Maybe I could trust it a little more. But I mean, there's a lot of candid film and recordings and stuff out there that never made it to the general public that could certainly be taken and repurposed in a way that you could create dialogue around it, and et cetera, et cetera.
Well, I certainly hope they don't use the latest Beatles song they released.
I do. I liked it.
A piece of shit.
I liked it. But too Chilly. I hate to be the bearer of bad news again, but Bohemian Rhapsody was one of the biggest movies of like 3 years ago. And the Elton John movie did really well too. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know who's giving you this information to Chili, but yeah, no, biopics are doing great right now, actually.
Yeah, I would say that first and foremost, I'm not a Beatles fan.
I am.
I am.
I know you guys are, and that's cool. I think Beatles destroyed music, but that's neither here nor there. But I love this idea. I just
no, that was Nirvana
about them. The only thing I don't love about this is that Sam Mendes will be writing all of them, or will be directing all of them. But I absolutely love the idea, and I'll tell you why. Speaking of other biopics, another really, really interesting one is the one about Tonya Harding. The Tonya Harding biopic was very, very interesting. And the reason it was interesting, even though Barbie, who played Tonya Harding, looks nothing like Tonya Harding, was that the movie addressed that you have different people with different recollection of the events that happened. Like, for instance, you have like a scene where Tonya Harding is having a shotgun and she's shooting at her husband, and the husband in the movie is screaming, "You're crazy, you did this." And then you have Tonya Harding screaming, "This scene never happened, according to Tonya Harding." And she's screaming it so they're kind of like breaking the fourth wall, addressing that here you have something that no one really knows, but they put it in the movie, but pay lip service to there's some level of doubt as to if this really, really happened. The beauty with a project like this is that here you can tell the story of each Beatle from their point of view. So the only thing I don't like is that you have the same director. I would rather there be 4 different directors, each of them tasked with, you are now to tell the entire Beatles story from this Beatles point of view. Because that way, the audience will be kind of like left to decide. Because, yeah, only 2 of them are still alive. But you have enough accounts from the others, both recollections from those still living, written work, stuff like that I think you can piece together a fairly accurate depiction of what probably happened. And how interesting would that be? For the same story told from 4 different perspectives from 4 different filmmakers. I'd love that. And not only that, I would love to see a concept like that done for more than just the Beatles. Tom, you mentioned already Kiss. Did you know that there's a Kiss biopic in the works as well?
There
It's
has
a
been for a while, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Netflix. As far as I know, it was supposed to start filming last year and come out in 2024. Now, if it filmed or not, and it's still coming out in 2024, I don't know. It's called Shout It Out Loud. It's directed by, it was supposed to be directed by Joachim Rønning, the Norwegian director, who is next set to direct the new Tron movie for Disney. He's the one that was to direct it. I don't know if it actually happened. I hope it did. But that's another example where actually I would have loved to see 4 different movies. One from the point of view of each of the 4 members of Kiss, because they all have slightly different recollections of what happened. Now, the recollections of Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons, those are pretty much in sync. But to the extent of which Ace Frehley and what's the Catman's name again?
Peter Criss.
Peter Criss, yeah, thank you. Those guys, those who were so drugged out of their minds that they've forgotten decades out of their life, but still they had others that remember what happened still. It would be kind of like fun to have like movies telling events even from their point of view. I love this idea. Yeah,
we really haven't got to hear much from Paul, but like I agree with you, and I think the interesting thing could be, I'm just curious what you think about this whole thing, because I like the concept, and I think it could work, but I wonder if it wouldn't work better as like a TV series though, because then you can actually spend more time. You got basically 4 2-hour movies or 3-hour movies.
Yeah, it's gonna be filmed like a season. It'll be filmed like a season of a TV series and edited together as 4 movies. So think of it as 4 made-for-TV movies. That's how they're gonna have to film it, like a TV.
And the one thing they have going from here, and this actually is pulling from a Beatles quote of sorts, is they're not like the Bohemian Rhapsody movie, right? It's the Queen biopic, and it's too hard to make it more about the rest of the band when clearly the only person anybody really gives a shit about is Freddie Mercury, right? Let's be real. In this instance, though, you have 4 Freddie Mercurys, or as I think it was Paul McCartney or somebody else pointed out, maybe it was George, basically like 4 Elvises, right? Like this was at least they had each other, unlike Elvis or whatever is like a solo. But in this case, you have 4 very interesting different people. Maybe Ringo the least of all, but no, I'm just kidding.
No. With Ringo, you have the Thomas the Tank Engine collection, so you can have another cameo.
No, what's interesting about Ringo is I think his story will be interesting because we get to see where he comes into the band, considering he's the older of the group and he had more experience coming in. So his earlier parts of his story will probably be vastly different than the other guys, to where their stories intersect earlier on, right? Like, I mean, I can kind of almost guess how the movies are going to start and go.
I would actually think that seeing the story from his eyes and his point of view may even be the most interesting. Because he's the one who's going to witness the madness of all the others, while having his own diva things and dealing with everyone criticizing him for being a shitty drummer.
You know what's funny? You just mentioned that. I found a video the other day where a drummer had gotten a challenge because he challenged a friend because his friend said that Ringo was a overrated drummer, and he quickly found out after he challenged him to do a few of what Ringo does. He found out quickly that that's not the case. Yeah. Ringo actually has some of the best timing of any drummer in history.
Oh, it's Peter Criss. He's the overrated useless
Yeah.
drummer.
Yes, and yeah, his story is going to be, if they ever did his story, that'd be weird. But
That's
no,
what
I
I
can't
mean.
wait.
I'd love to see a Peter Criss biopic.
But we all know Ace Frehley was the real star there.
He's got a new album coming out, actually.
He does, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, Paul, I'm curious because you haven't really talked much about this. You're a big Beatles fan. I liked the new song, you didn't. So I guess we're coming from two different camps here, but I can understand that you're being of that generation of fans compared to me. I discovered them, a little later in life. I mean, they were always there for me, but yeah, I'm just curious what your thoughts on this because you've been kind of quiet about it.
Well, what do you want me to say about this? So for instance, I have no idea what each of the movies conceptually. I mean, like I said, if one was going to end up like the Yellow Submarine out of Ringo's mind, and the other one is, something, hip hoppy for, I don't know. I mean, again, they did this thing with
Where they would basically kind of
everyone. What's the movie where everyone dressed up as Dylan?
Oh, I Am Not Here, or whatever it's called.
Yeah. So I mean, that was an attempt to just riff on Dylan, right? Which was kind of interesting. So I have no concept on what it is that they're trying to do here. I am concerned that these guys are, well, two of them long dead. George Harrison to me was the most interesting Beatle, was my favorite. And you know what? It's not that those of us of our generation aren't going to line up to see something about the Beatles. I know a lot of young people who are constantly being introduced to the Beatles, especially through streaming, and appreciate what their contribution is. So from a commercial perspective, if I'm just putting my network executive hat on, yeah, do anything with the Beatles. like what?
You know what? I actually wish you were writing this now, because I know what Sam Mendes is going to do. Like Andre said, this is basically going to be like a TV miniseries split up into 4 different movies.
I don't need another version of what Jackson did.
Yeah, I mean, well, that was a documentary, right? Well, this is going to be an actual film, and what we're just going to see is the interweaving stories through different perspectives. But I like your concept better. Like, I think like John's movie should be like in the vein of Hard Day's Night. Paul's movie should be in the vein of Help.
Yeah.
George's movie should be in the vein of Magical Mystery Tour, and Ringo's movie should be in the vein of Yellow Submarine. That would be fucking amazing. And it would still be the same story from different points of view, but the style, but for that you need 4 different filmmakers. And I think that's where they're being short-sighted on this. And I don't know if you touched on this a little bit, Andre, too, but that's what I think they should have done. They should have like Sam Mendes, Peter Jackson, and 2 or 3 Scorsese, maybe one other director.
I would like to see each of them being an artistic individual experience that is interpretive.
That would be great. I don't think that's what they're going to do, but I like your concept. Like, I like that idea. To me, as a Beatles fan, that works. In those movies, you can each kind of push one to their personalities, right? Because John's the dry, kind of old school guy. Well, that's why Hard Day's Night works for him. Paul's the showman. That's why Help, being the first one in color and all showy and kind of like a Bond movie, that's where it works for him. George was always kind of the weird one. That's why Magical Mystery Tour works for him. And of course, Ringo. I mean, Yellow Submarine is Ringo. I mean, come on.
It's Ringo's.
It just works. And I love that. That's not probably what they're doing, but I would love to see that, man. That'd be great.
Yeah. And we now know when Paul is in utter and complete control of a creative vision, you end up with Magical Misery Tour.
That was actually pretty funny. I was muted there. Sorry. But
no, I mean, like the worst of anything the Beatles created, other than musically, the movie was
the movie's a mess.
Obsession.
Well, that's because they didn't even know what they were doing.
No, but I mean, this was one Paul decided that, I mean, by my readings, again, I'm not an expert on the Beatles, that this was something he took complete control over, and it's dog shit.
Well, and that, and I have a
I mean, I saw it on the double bill with Zappa's 2000 Motels. So I'm not I can't judge it.
It's not really a movie. That's the problem. It's more of a it's kind of like one of the first music video.
Well, it was an
collections.
excessive jerk off.
Yeah.
I mean, it really it
It
was.
is. But it kind of invented the music video, and I still stick with that. Because like if you look at that, there's like a direct line from Magical Mystery Tour to like The Wall, and just how music videos went from just being people standing around.
Except A Hard Day's Night came way before that.
It did, but that was a different kind of movie.
That was a yeah.
The Wall being like this concept movie based on a concept album kind of thing. Yeah, yeah.
Sure, yeah, I get it from that perspective, but
the other one that you would have in there would be probably like Head from the Monkees.
Yeah, that was weird.
But anyway, that being said, Culture, you were the one that sounded the least excited about this, and it's sad.
I just want to know what it is. I don't know what it is.
I would say we don't know what this is, but even with what you presented, I'm still less inclined to get excited. I'm sorry. To me, you have two people that are no longer with us, that there's no sound, thought process behind what they would think, say, or anything else. They, if you just base it off their music, and again, George was, believe it or not, my favorite Beatle. Yeah. He was the most creative, the most thoughtful. He probably the most aware of the world around him. And McCartney has just had kind of a what do you call it? A silver spoon to life.
Oh, he was I mean, he's a talented guy.
I'm not. Don't mistake me. I love all of the Beatles.
He's actually my favorite. I'll admit it.
Even Ringo Starr, but everybody here was just incredibly musically talented. I don't know that you'll get a super group like this again. And it's funny, we had so many of them in this era from the late 50s through the late 90s. We had these super groups of these all super uber talented musicians that came together.
Is how influential they were and continue to be. Yeah. Given for how short a time they actually were active. I mean, all their three eras, their entire record producing period, it was what, 7 years or something?
Basically, like the hard years were like 63 to 70, yeah.
Okay, so basically we're talking about the same time frame from Avengers Endgame till now. That time frame there, that's the entire time frame of the Beatles. And all the influence happened in that time frame, just to put things into context.
And with the exception of Starr, right, you had all of them had just tremendous solo careers after that. Yep. Just amazing, influential.
Traveling Wilburys was a good laugh, and look what George Harrison did for comedy, for crying out loud.
Yeah, he Monty Python. He played a big role in that.
Oh yeah, and he had, as far as I'm concerned, the Ruttles. He had a great role in the Ruttles. I mean, he had a great.
Here's where I would, if you're not going to do a trilogy and you're going to do 4 movies, this is where I'm wondering if you shouldn't do it from each point of view, which I like that concept, but maybe more for like a TV show. In this sense, I would think you'd have to do the 3 eras of the Beatles and then 1 movie at the end just to kind of cover everything afterwards.
But what do you do with Pete? You have to acknowledge him.
Well, he'll be acknowledged, but you also have Backbeat already that's covered a lot of that ground too. Yeah. I mean, that's the other thing is we got to point out is the Beatles, they have probably had more biopics made about them than maybe except for Elvis, probably. But at the same time, they've had the shittiest ones because, and this is what gets me excited about this one, and then we'll probably get close to wrapping this up because I know there's not there's a bit of a debate about the Beatles thing, and you got to get going. We got some super chats to get to. It's just that they've never had the license to use the music. They've never had the approval of anybody involved. So they've always been kind of like half-assed. Backbeat is probably one of the better of the bunch, but that's just because they chose to set it in a specific time period where the Beatles weren't quite writing yet. And all the songs they were singing were cover songs. So they were able to get away with that. And then as soon as it gets to that point where they're about to hit, stardom, that's where the movie ends. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, but it's a great movie, but it's probably one of the better of the bunch. But yeah.
I think one of the Beatles was talking with one of the guys from Led Zeppelin and how they did 2-hour shows. And the Beatles said, we just do 20-minute concerts. That's it. That was the entire, one of the biggest revelations though, after being immersed in the Beatles is then, going to a friend's house and listening to All Things Must Pass for the first time when it came out. I could not believe how good that was compared to the entire Beatles catalog. Like, really? That
Well,
you
because
kept
George had some
George?
good stuff saved up. That's why.
Yeah, he sure did. No, he sure bloody hell did. I mean,
Oh
that
yeah,
to
What
me
Is
is
Life is a great fucking tune.
one
The
of
whole
my
album is
favorite
amazing. Yeah.
Beatles albums. Is All Things Must Pass, and certainly I think is better than most of the stuff that John did on his own, which I'm sorry is heretical. I know that you're not supposed to say that.
No, I don't disagree with you. I'd say of the solo careers, George and Paul had the stronger of the two. Obviously, not just because of longevity, but
Well,
that's
it's
just
hard
my
to do it
personal
when you're
opinion. Yeah.
dead.
Well, yeah, but I mean, as far as like John's stuff, it got very
Oh yeah.
emo and yeah.
Well,
This is a good point though with longevity, but also just to quickly address that point that Culture made, that a couple of them are no longer with us. This has never stopped biopics before. I mean, I'm a big
Yeah.
fan of the Falco biopic. He's dead. He's not there to tell his own story or why he's the details of why he's no longer with us. There's a movie that's controversial within the black metal environment, which I think is really good. Namely, the Lords of Chaos, the movie on the Norwegian black metal scene of the 90s, and the lead character of the movie is also no longer with us, for better or worse. And the story is then told through the eyes of other people.
So wait, we brought up Amadeus earlier and Rock Me Amadeus, and there's a Falco biopic, and I didn't know about it.
Yeah, there is.
You should have mentioned that earlier.
Okay,
that brought us full circle and actually kind of brings it all back around nicely.
It's a really good biopic too. I mean, Culture, did you get to see it yet?
No.
I mean, he's kind of a joke here in the U.S., but yeah.
He's a really good artist.
Well, I'm sure he is, and that's the thing.
Messed up person, but really good artist.
I have to tell you, Falco was great. So
I'd say a lot of Euro artists that happens. They have huge careers everywhere else but the U.S., and then in the U.S. they're lucky if they get like a one hit wonder, and it's always some novelty.
Rock Me Amadeus is his worst song, if anything, or one.
That's the only hit he has here.
Yeah, I know.
So again, and that's more for the novelty of it, right? So, but yeah, well, we'll have to see what comes of this. We got Space Jettison, who's been a member for 2 months. We got this one already. Glade Ribbon, who's been here for 18 months, says, "Oh no, Borderlands movie trailer dropped, and I don't hate it, huh?"
Looks like fun. It's a bit long.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet.
Again, it's another 3-minute trailer. The visuals, as far as what Paul's referring to, the visuals there are very, very good. Very good. The casting's not terrible.
Kate's in it.
Yeah, Kate does a good job in it.
Honestly, I don't remember how bad Lionsgate is for claiming. I'd be more worried about the music than I am
It's the music. It's a whole yellow song.
Yeah, so, you got the yellow song.
Yeah, but it's 3 minutes long, and they give away a lot. And there's a really bad joke in it, a really bad toilet humor joke that is going to go on too long. It already did.
That actually looked pretty good.
Yeah, Claptrap. Yeah, Claptrap looks good. But that one scene goes on far too long. It's a lot of the audience is going to be like, "Can this end, please?" So, and then no,
I'm actually kind of impressed with the visuals of this actually, and I don't know the games for shit or nothing like that.
Yeah, the visuals are incredible, and I like everything for the most part. Looks like it's enjoyable,
it's like they spent some money on it,
and a lot of time, and a ton of time. And we talked a little about this yesterday on the HCast, but just this took too long to come out. It's somebody today said the thing that I was thinking, which is this should have come out 10 years ago. I agree.
Yep. It reminds me of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Exactly. Yeah, this is Guardians meets Ragnarok.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of that vibe to it.
Yeah, and it's got the same humor. So if you're not completely bummed out about Marvel humor, then this will work out for you. But if you have no connection to the game, I have to ask, what originally is driving you to see this? What kind of mass appeal does this have? And if it's not good, what kind of backlash will it yield, not just for future games, but also for these kinds of game film spinoffs? I mean, that's the next logical thing that they're moving to. They just haven't done any of them very well. Outside of the first Hitman film, I haven't really enjoyed a whole lot of video game films. So I'm worried. You know,
We kinda had
Uncharted is the best in the world.
say
well, we
again?
kind of had a Uncharted is the best in the world. He said, "Sorry."
That was a terrible release. Sony should have made that
I
film.
think
Did
he
you
was being
watch it?
sarcastic.
I was
Paul.
being
Oh.
sarcastic.
Oh, you were
You
facetious.
need a sign for him. He's kind of like yeah, like Sheldon. No, I mean I have zero reference for this, but it looks kind of fun. I like the colors. I like the visuals look stunning actually
That's what I
compared to the
said.
shit I'm used to
Yeah.
with Marvel.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I just yeah.
We shall
But,
see.
yeah, we guess
Yeah.
we'll have to wait and see. But
I
we had a
love
broader
games.
conversation on this yesterday about video game movies and stuff like that, and what is going to be the next thing.
Yeah.
But,
The next. Do we have any specifically for the appalling news guy?
I'm looking right now, and I'm sure 6 is also as well. We got this one to start with. Gonzalo Bergali, who's been a member for 25 months, says, Paul, don't you mean the latest John Lennon song? They
Yes.
used the rest of the Beatles to fill
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
blanks.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Well,
what I
they
meant.
filled in and they wrote some stuff to it, but yeah. Because
The
this was
rest.
a song they were actually putting together during the same time they did Free as a Bird and Real Love, but they abandoned it because at that time the technology wasn't there to help make it sound.
They should have left it abandoned.
I disagree. I like it.
It was.
I wish it should. I wish they would have been able to finish it at the time, so it would have been properly on Beatles Anthology 3. And I don't know why they put it on the Blue album. They should have just re-released the anthologies and put it on then and as a new special edition. But I don't know.
I heard a George Martin outtake piece where he played or someone played a bunch of the stuff that has never made it to final Beatle vinyl, and the songs were horrifically bad. Like it's like anything else creative. Not everything they did was good, and George Martin did a very good job of picking and choosing with the guys what songs were finally going to make it through. But when they were bad, they were really bad.
Oh yeah. Well, you can tell that from Get Back because there's just a lot of dicking around in there too. But the Burke, I got to correct you a little bit on this. This is not 100% accurate. They did start recording this back in '94 with George. He did do some leads, but he was the one who actually said, "Well, this is not working for me," and quit in the middle of it all. So they did have what he had worked on, and then Paul finished that
You
off.
should have listened to George.
Well, he was just mad because he couldn't hear their problem was they couldn't hear through the piano and the vocals was what the issue was.
I'm just being mean. If you like the song, you like it. It's just my
I don't
personal
know.
opinion.
At first I wasn't sure. Did you hear Billy Joel's new song? What'd you think of that one?
It felt like you just can't go back to that well again. Although, it was nice.
That's exactly what the song is about. That's the funny thing.
It was.
If
It
you
was
listen to the
okay.
words.
It was okay.
I liked it all right, but I thought the Beatles one was better, but that's just
Okay. Yeah. I wasn't never a huge Billy Joel fan, so
I like Billy Joel, but I know he's not nearly as beloved as the Beatles.
I'm waiting for Kraftwerk to get back together again and do some new stuff.
I'm curious what Culture thought of the new Joel song because I know he's a bit more of a fan. But I think we're all done with Paul's super chats.
Okay.
Now, so unless 6 can alert me to one that I missed.
No.
Oh, wow! You went to celebration mode. That was crazy.
Celebration mode because I can't remember what the balloon mode is. I did it by accident twice.
I forgot what it was too. Yeah.
So what's balloon? Anyway,
it's
next
one where
story.
you wave your hands around. That doesn't do anything. It's something like that. I can't remember what it was, but no, you're.
I'm done. Listen, thank you very much, gentlemen. Hopefully, see you Friday. Our refrigerator, after 2 months of not having a refrigerator, might actually arrive on Friday. So we'll see.
So soon. I'm amazed at the infrastructure of Canada.
It's a mess. Talk to you later, everyone. Have a good time.
Take care. Thanks for joining us.
Take care. And he leaves as we get some interesting news here, but we got to get some of these super chats first because you guys have been so patient. Then we'll get to this news that Andre has for us in the background. Chaos Sonic 1 says, for sympathy to webcast, I say fuck that. They knew what they were doing as they admit they got paid to do it. Thank you for the 5. And I agree with you, basically, Chaos Sonic, except for one thing. And I will say that they have been saying, and I believe them, that they were being duped into thinking they were signing on to an MCU film.
Yeah.
And I think that is why What's-Her-Face fired her agent.
Yep. Dakota Johnson.
Probably.
Look, I mean, you're told, oh, you're going to be in a Spider-Man film. How would you like to be a Marvel? How would you like to be a star in a Marvel film? Well, yeah.
A Spider-Man Marvel film, no less. Yeah.
Yeah. And there, I mean, it wasn't a lie. It was just a lie.
It
And the
depends
funny
on
thing,
your
stuff like
certain
this,
point of view.
you wouldn't think that something like this could happen, but it does. That stars are deceived into thinking that they're in the MCU when they're actually Sony's shitty Marvelverse. And it's the same thing with stars who are aware. Like, for instance, when Michael B. Jordan was in Fantastic, he would say, be on the red carpet, and he would say things designed to delude audiences into thinking that this movie was MCU, which obviously it wasn't. He didn't outright say it was MCU, but he kind of like hinted, like, you never know what Lance Marvel has going forward. And by Marvel, he then meant Marvel Studios. You never know what plans Marvel Studios have of including us with the rest of stuff. And Marvel Studios were such that the cast of the Fantastic were killed off in the pages of The Punisher. At least the visual replicas of the actors were killed off in the pages of The Punisher. That's what Marvel Studios wanted to do with that movie. So yeah, you always had some level of deception surrounding those movies, both in front and behind the camera.
This is like the deception of Amy Pascal, and we've seen like a pattern with this. And I think we're in the midst of another one right now, because this first started out with the famous story where Kevin came in to pitch the idea of bringing Spider-Man into the MCU, and she threw a fucking sandwich at him and told him, get the fuck out of her office. And this is not even a rumor, guys. She confirmed this.
Yeah.
I think we had heard about it first, and then she actually confirmed it in some interview on a carpet where she's like, I wasn't too happy about it the first time. I think I actually threw a sandwich at him or something. I'm like, holy shit, she actually did it. We were sure if that was true, but yeah, no, she fucking threw it. And then, we kept hearing through the grapevine that she was trying to finagle this plan that she was going to pull Spider-Man out of the MCU while also building up this Sinister Six through Venom and all this other stuff in her glass ceiling project in the background. Okay. And that's when we had heard the last time when, we haven't heard from Sony in 6 months, Disney said. I think it was Kevin Feige himself. And at that point, then that's when I think I had heard, and I think I told you this one, Andre, where that basically Rothman said, get in there and get a deal done. I don't give a shit what it takes. You're not playing this fucking game with this, basically, in so many words. But I think we reported something similar at that time or whatever it was. And then now here we go. We're at the end of this deal again because they made a new Spider-Man deal, which was actually better for both parties than the first deal that we had heard, which we have no idea what exactly was in those deals. But from what we know of this one, Sony did get back, or at least gets a piece of the toy rights this time and stuff like that. But now here we are, the longest span between Spider-Man films again. We hear her dick, not one word. We're hearing some rumors. I don't know if you've been hearing anything, Andre, but
I haven't yet. No.
But I'm thinking we're back at square one again, where Amy's trying to pull her bullshit.
There'll be adjuncts to it,
and pull Spider-Man out of the MCU again. But the thing is that Tom Holland doesn't want that.
And also, after seeing how Sony themselves botched this, I don't think that Tom Rothman is going to want that either.
And this is why I brought it up. I think we're a couple weeks away from finally hearing some movement on Spider-Man 4 for that exact reason, Andre. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you at the end.
Yeah, no, but I think you're right. He's going to be like, yeah, you know what? We can't do this. So we're just going to keep on paying Marvel the fees for making the movies, and then collect the hundreds of millions we get in return afterwards, which are much more than the losses we have to write down of the tens of millions of our own Spider-Man-less Spider-Man movies.
Yeah, and that'll be lucky if they manage to make it only tens of millions on this one, because Culture and I have been discussing this the whole thing with their box office and all that stuff.
Yeah, and that's what all these adjuncts, there'll be adjuncts to it. The adjuncts are the supplementary garbage that we're getting that is a Spider-Verse without a Spider-Man. And, you know, even if they try to force the idea of a Miles Morales live action, that thing's just not going to go over well. And I don't know. I can't see anything positive from any of this. I just can't.
Are you not excited for Craven later this year?
The threshold for my enjoyment of that field has been falling for quite some time now, especially since they pushed it back. Had they not pushed it back, had it come out before Madame Web, maybe that would have helped Madame Web's initial box office, because maybe Craven was going to be good. So, but to answer your question, no, I am not excited for Craven. I'm bummed. I now know what to expect. Nonsense.
Not only that, you can almost guarantee that Craven and Spider-Man will never meet now.
No, they can't. You know, the more we learn about this deal with Marvel Sony, that's never happened.
Well, that's what I love about the Madame Web movies. It's basically confirming all of Andre's reporting.
Oh,
but
yeah,
I think Mikey Sutton was the one who feeded you that first, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Late great himself. And it's basically true, as we've seen. And I guarantee you there's a version of this movie where Peter is named. I'm sure there's a version of this movie where they do talk about Aunt May and maybe even have her in it more and start in it and all that stuff in a young version. But I'm sure Disney come in and said, you can't do that. And they're like, well, you can have Uncle Ben and that's it because he's not in the movies. And Peter's mom, but you can't have Peter.
Yeah.
You can't have Peter.
Yeah, indeed.
Then we got Fluffy Panda, who's been here for 14 months. Thank you for that. And sends in a $5 super chat. Thank you, Fluffy Panda. Says, at some point, you have to smarten up like Cavill and walk away. They want sympathy. Look in the dictionary between shit and syphilis. LOL. Yes, indeed. That is a good one. Yeah, Cavill's making his own path. You cannot fault him for that at all. We got Hello Computer, who's here for $5 and says, love how the population percentage doesn't count for the Film Actors Guild. Oh, that's another interesting wrinkle. Yeah. Fluffy Panda also sends in another 5. Says, death and other details. Mandy Patinkin, if I can talk right, as the greatest detective and young, bright female. Can you guess who they made the bestest detective? The young, bright female, of course.
Yeah, not him.
Yeah.
That would surprise me.
And we got this one earlier, but thanks again, IMAV, for pointing out how slow I am today. Taylor Swift, greater than Disney Star Wars, is here and sends in a $2 super chat. It says, guess deadline isn't counting Swift's concert film. Oh, that's a good point. Did they count that? Yeah.
Wow.
It's a good point. We don't know. We'll have to look into that. I think Andre may be digging into that a little bit more in the future. Yeah. We'll see.
Well, it isn't deadline, to be clear. It's the Annenberg Inclusion Initiative, which is far, far worse than deadline. But yeah,
you know, to make that an actual Monty Python group, you have to add for like cheese eaters or something at the end.
Yeah, something like that.
Say the name again and then just put for cheese eaters at the end. Then it's a Monty Python.
Yeah, well, you got all of those initiatives courtesy of Wallace Annenberg. So there you go. And Wallace is a woman, not a man. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Chris K is here and sends in a $2 super chat to say hail to the panel. Well, hail to you, Chris K, and thank you for being here and the support. We got Jason Webster coming in from Australia, sending in $10 dues. Says Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny was a disastrous waste of time and money. It is so bad it should be retitled Indiana Jones and the Diaper of Dysentery. Oh yeah, we had plenty of punny names for that movie.
Yeah, that's a movie I have no need of rewatching ever again.
No, I think you know, I never thought there'd be another movie to make me go, Crystal Skull wasn't that bad. Gasonic One says $5. It says, I'm going to say this, all these race changes and in these SJW revisionists actually make it more racist. Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely. We pointed this out before, 2 Chaos Sonic, in a lot of ways, yeah.
Please don't get me started on this because it's going to lead me down to a political path and I'm not doing it.
Well, here's one that's more topical to the day and poignant to this, look at something like X-Men, right? Like we talked about the X-Men series. Right there's a great example of a comic book series that is just broad, open broad for any kind of allegory you want to fit in there, right? The moment you start putting labels on it, though, then it becomes what that is, right? And that's where I don't think this new X-Men show is going to work so well as it used to, because it's going to be all about non-binary LGBTQ allegories. You watch. I even have to give Bryan Singer, of all people, credit for when he made the first X-Men movie. He came to the table going, look, I was never a big X-Men fan. I was more of a Superman guy. But I read the couple of the comics and stuff, and I kind of realized, oh, I can relate to this growing up as a bisexual man, right? Like, I can understand what the allegories are here. But instead of trying to change it to fit his perspective and his experience, he just used that as fuel, right? Kind of like how Nicholas Meyer used, oh, I seen these shows. Okay, it's basically Horatio Hornblower in space. I'll run with that. That was his fuel for Star Trek, right? That was the thing with Singer. At least I give him credit. He didn't bombard you with a bunch of gay shit to go like, oh, hit you over the head going, oh, this is a gay allegory. He understood it. He just didn't use it. But anyway, nobody wants to back that one up. I thought that was a safe one to bring up, but guess not. But yeah, putting a label on it is a problematic thing.
Yeah.
52 movies a year, sent in $9.99, says you can blame the success of the play Hamilton for the decision for race swaps and everything. Nobody really cares, just to tell the story the best way you can. The only sad part about Hamilton is Hamilton's not even anything that hasn't been done before.
I think we would have gotten everything we get right now, even if that had been a failure. That it wasn't, that certainly didn't slow things down, let's say. But even if it wasn't, it would have happened anyway, because this was never about finance. They don't do this because it's financially beneficial.
I got to bust in to defend my.
You're a Hamilton fan, yeah, I know.
I am a Hamilton fan. That's not why I'm coming on to throw my 2 cents in. What Hamilton did was, I feel like they wanted to cast people of color, Latinos, whatever you want to call them, but they didn't make it so much about the message. I feel like now, whenever they cast, like somebody said a super chat about how there's an Asian man who's playing Amadeus, and all the other diversity hires and that kind of thing. They're doing it because of the diversity, and they're talking about, oh, look how diverse we are. Look how, they're waving that flag. Whereas I feel like with Hamilton and some of the other things, when things have been race swapped in the past, they just did it because they thought, oh, let's, like The Wiz. Let's see what happens if let's do it so we'll have a fresh look, a new look, as opposed to let's do it just for the sake of the fact that these people are underrepresented and we're going to push them into this role. And then we're going to talk about it. That's kind of what I see.
No, you're 100% right. I was going to bring up how I would kind of compare Hamilton more to The Wiz than I would some of the stuff we're doing now. But I do see where it is kind of I could see them using that as an example of, see, it can work with this. Why can't we do it with everything else?
Yeah. Yeah. That was definitely, in the beginning when they first started all this race swapping and forcing women into roles that they have no business being in. Yes, I said it. There's some roles that women have no business being in. That Hamilton was definitely at the beginning of that. Well, so I agree, but just with an asterisk.
And I'm also stretching to try and remember the last time one of these big musicals like this actually had a successful movie outside of the musicals turned back into movies like Producers. Like Chicago might be the last one I can think of that might have been an actual successful, musical turned movie. Was La La Land a musical before it was a movie or not? Or was that just a straight movie? I don't remember. That would be the last one otherwise, or The Greatest Showman, one of those two. Otherwise, I think those were both original films. Otherwise, it's been a long time, because even like the Phantom of the Opera didn't do as well as they were hoping. Cats is an obvious example of, way past their due date. I mean, that's the thing. I'm curious if they'll ever do a Hamilton movie. and how it'll be perceived. Because Wicked is coming out here. And I don't know if that's going to do as well as they're hoping. And I think another reason for that is because it's another one that's 10, 20 years too late. But I'm curious what you guys think on that. Otherwise, we should move on anyway. So, yeah. So we got this other story to get to.
Unless Culture has some strong feelings on it, let's move on.
Oh, and popped out.
I don't even get me started. I know a lot of people love Hamilton. I don't. So
I don't hate it, but I don't have like.
No,
I'm curious to see what happens if they ever do a movie of it.
Yeah, I can't. I'm not going to rise to tell about the reasons that I just don't care. It wasn't something that would be intriguing to me, and I like musicals, so there you are.
Yeah. And then ActionCom sends in 10 and says, Andre, Pepsi was able to convince Khrushchev, did I say it right?
Yes.
To allow Pepsi to be sold, but due to ruble convertibility, Pepsi bartered vodka instead. As business got better, Pepsi took decommissioned warships.
Yeah, I don't recall it was something like that. It was kind of like
it's a fucking movie.
Like a joke in a sense. That's what I'm saying. This is a movie that's waiting to happen. How Pepsi
with Matt Damon in it.
The Navy.
Matt Damon.
Get Matt Damon and make this movie now.
How about Soda Navy?
No, we need something better.
Now it's fiction. I mean, this is worth just telling exactly as it happened, because there's so many awesome stories from reality. Like, I love biopics and stories from reality.
Me too.
Because so often stories from reality are far better than anything from fiction if you just tell the stories right.
Well, like some of my favorite movies of this last year, Tetris, Air.
And like right now, after I became aware of it, the Kiss biopic is one of my most hotly anticipated movies of the year. I just wish I knew when it came out.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not even that big a fan of Kiss.
I was going to say, are you all of a sudden on a Kiss kick or what?
No.
I mean, I know a lot about Kiss, but I mean, Jesus.
No, it's just
I'm actually impressed.
It's just coincidence. Like, you mentioned it yesterday, and that was after I read about this biopic. I don't know how it just came up in my. Yeah, like I have academic knowledge about
Here's
Kiss,
the funny thing, Andre. I'm not even that big a fan of Kiss, but my best friend growing up was. So I know almost everything there is to know about Kiss.
Yeah. You got it through osmosis.
Exactly. Yeah. I could tell you, like, I even know that Eric Carr died the same day as Freddie Mercury, but nobody remembers it because Freddie Mercury died.
Yeah.
Like, it was,
Wow.
Yeah, that really sucked for him. So basically, he struggled his whole life because he wasn't the original, not his whole life, but ever since he was made the replacement drummer, because the original drummer was a useless hack and a druggie who couldn't do anything and couldn't even play drums. Like, for real, like, he played by feel, which is why he could never play the same thing twice, including on the same song. But he still,
actually,
Eric
I
Carr
like Eric's version
because he wasn't the original.
I actually prefer Eric's version of Beth. I know that's kind of sacrilege, but Peter's version, he sounds like he's gargling fucking like gravel or something. At least Eric's version is a lot more, cleaner and smoother. I don't know. I know that's probably sacrilege, but there's probably like 2 Kiss fans in the audience, so let's move on. And one of them is probably Brian. And here he is with a 20 Canadian. Holy crap. And this is why I was hoping you'd pop in last night, Brian, because we were talking to Beatles stuff a lot longer. He goes, I'm skeptical, but there isn't a single moment of the Beatles' lives that hasn't been poured over in exhaustive detail in numerous formats. You are correct. Down to the most minute fucking detail. There is nothing left to reveal or learn. Even as a lifelong Beatles fan, I'm not excited. I'm sorry to hear that. I want to see it dramatized, though. I'd love to see it. I just hope it doesn't turn out like the Queen biopic. That was more like a fun jukebox musical than it was an actual biopic.
I'm surprised that the Beatles, that the bigger Beatle fan, you are certainly in our circle, the less likely you are to be interested in this. Like, this appears to be for the normies, because I don't even like the Beatles, and I'm excited for this.
I'm a pretty big Beatles fan, and I'm probably like the only one so far I know who's looking forward to it.
You're not a Beatles fan, Andre?
No.
He thinks they're overrated. They're the scream of musicians.
Yeah. Beatles ruined music.
I don't know about that.
Wow, I'm gonna have to reevaluate a lot of things now.
I respect them for their contribution to music, but
look, I bring this up every time somebody says they're overrated. They were out at the same time as people like the Rolling Stones, Bob Dylan, Elvis Presley, some of the best of the best of the best of the best. And they still managed to rise above the rest and be that influential. So you can hate them all you fucking want. But if it wasn't for the Beatles, music would never have been the same.
that's what I said. They ruined music. But anyway.
No, I mean for the better, even for the better, because especially with technology, man, like the Beatles made music sound better through technology as well, because they were a big enough group that at that time a lot of the pop groups were just getting thrown on mono singles, and the companies didn't give a shit. But they were one of the groups that said, you know what, we want to be experimental with this shit. And you know, their stuff led directly to like Pink Floyd getting experimental and so on. To me, there's a direct line, whether you like it or not, leading all the way through, you know, a lot of music. But yeah, anyway, I don't want to get into that too much.
Yeah, no. But to be clear, I don't hate them. I just like I never really got into them. I respect their contribution. I'm impressed how much they were.
They're not hard enough for you.
To yes, kind of, yeah. It's not hard enough for me because harder music came much later. Of course, there's a direct lineage between the Beatles and the kind of music that I like as well, because everything inspired everything else in the world. So much of the movie, like for instance, Kiss couldn't have happened without the Beatles.
No, absolutely not, because they wanted to be the Beatles.
Kiss. Therefore, Rammstein couldn't have happened without the Beatles. So there, I'm grateful for the Beatles.
So Andre's version of Blackbird actually tells you how it got its wing broken. That's all he wants to hear.
Yeah. I don't even know what Blackbird is, but I'm guessing
Blackbird
it's a Beatles
singing in the dead of night. Take this broken wing and learn to fly.
We need to move on. We
need to learn on while culture still has some illusions intact.
Says with $1.99. How did my damn web not make a web $1 billion? Oh, that was funny. That was funny.
It was terrible.
Yes, indeed it was. Oh, we got Adam Wyatt, who's been a member for 2 months. And that reminds us, we are going to do a member stream on Sunday. I know we're way overdue for it, guys, and we apologize. But the plan is to do it on Sunday, roughly the same time we do the morning show. So hopefully you guys are free to join us. That will be open for members of Midnight's Edge After Dark, and our Patreon members on Sunday. So keep a lookout in the community tabs and Patreon for the links to join us, and you can hop in and ask us a question or talk to us about a topic real quick. There you go.
Yeah, gonna be fun. It always is.
The Magician Sapphire sends in 10 and says, will they do a Pete Best movie the Beatle Ringo replaced? You see, and that's the thing, is his story has been well covered already. I'm sure he'll be a part of this story. But yeah. Hasn't he had his own movie? I thought they did a movie a couple years back where it was all about Pete Best. I thought. I'm trying to remember. Maybe I'm wrong. You may want to look into that though, Magician Sapphire. I think they did one already on Pete Best. Jason Webster sends in an Australian $5 reduce. Some more money. Thank you so much, Jason. As Freddie Mercury and Michael Jackson were to collaborate on Thriller, then Michael brought his pet llama into the recording. Bye-bye collaboration. This is a very true story. In fact, Freddie Mercury has co-writing on a Michael Jackson song that he doesn't sing on, but somebody else does. Do you guys know what song that is?
Is that the one Andre with Paul McCartney?
Nope.
Then I have no clue.
I'm surprised Culture doesn't know this one. It's State of Shock, the one he did with Mick Jagger. Freddie actually wrote that with him. That's the one they were recording.
State of Shock.
Yeah. There's a version out there with Freddie singing on it. And it's not AI. Yeah. It's a good song. Michael Nemo sends in $2 and says, I still want to see Zemeckis' Yellow Submarine. Oh, man, that thing was going to be a fucking fever dream, though.
No, it sounded bonkers. This
is where somebody needed to stop Zemeckis.
Say, no.
No, stop. Because for those who don't know what he was going to do real quick, correct me if I'm wrong, Andre, because I know you know about this too. he was going to take all the original soundtrack from the original film and just do a CGI version of it.
That's my understanding.
In his like, what do you call it? The Polar Express
this
style.
dead dive walking zombie freaky uncanny valley thing. Yeah, that's so. I think we're probably better off with the Yellow Submarine as it is.
Exactly, Argentrum. I don't think it would have been perceived very well. Now, if you're going to, I don't even think a remake of the Yellow Submarine would be perceived well at all, period. It's a perfect film as it is. Leave it alone. That's right, Sadie. John Evan Bear sends in a Canadian 5 and says, forget about the Beatles movie. I want to see a movie about Pink Floyd. So, oh, fuck yes. That thing would be a trip and a half, but you would need a trilogy or better to tell this story because there is more than, like, talk about a band with 3 eras. They're like decades of eras. And I don't know how big of a fan you guys are of Floyd, but yeah, they're next to the Beatles and Queen are my favorite bands.
I mean,
so
bring them on. I mean, I want to see biopics of all that. Do biopics of the entire history of music.
You would almost have to start with like a Sid Barrett story, though. Like that's the thing is you got to do his story first, and then when he exits the band, when Pink Floyd takes on that second version, you know, and you can even call the movies like Pink Floyd and then Pink Floyd Mark II and then Pink Floyd. You know, that would be even like the fans would dig that kind of shit. And if you did them like The Wall, almost like a weird, trippy kind of, you know, I don't know. I think it'd be great. Zeppelin, yeah, you could tell about how they stole all their music.
Calm down.
It's true. Name one song they wrote, motherfucker. They're all old blues songs or they stole them from somebody. I don't care if they won the court case. I heard the song. It's the same song. They just put lyrics on it. They are talented, though. I'll give them that. They're very talented. Talented at stealing other people's shit. But yes. Oh, now I got on Culture's case a Zeppelin fan. I like Zeppelin. All right. They're good. Adam Wolford sends it $2 and says, just have David Lynch. That would be great. How wild the Beatles would be. I wonder if he's even a Beatles fan.
He doesn't have to be. He doesn't have,
I know,
has to understand it.
That's what I mean, though. I almost feel like this is one of those cases, though. You almost have to be a fan to do it justice. I get what you're saying, Andre. In most cases, I'd 100% agree with you, 100%. But the fans are going to eat you alive if you don't get something right.
Yeah, it sounds like Culture's ready to eat them and anyway here. So yeah,
he's going to eat me alive for what I said about Zeppelin. Dr. Coffindale sending
what I said about the Beatles.
You guys, both of you are on my list now. So, yeah.
Oh, I forgot to ask you, what did you think of the new Billy Joel song?
I haven't heard it yet.
You seriously haven't heard it yet? Check it out, dude. The video is trippy too, because
I got
all the years of its life.
Yeah, I got a note from a family member. I'll have to go check it out.
Yeah, I'm really curious what you think because I know you're a
huge
fan.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
Dr. Coffindale sends in 5 and says, like to learn about the Beatles. Gee, if only someone could write a book or do a film about these. Exactly like I said, Coffindale's. Of all the bands in the world, aside from Elvis, the Beatles have probably had more biopics about them than anybody. A lot of them are TV movies.
Oh, but, and then the reference that they used in that latest film that got them sued because the woman that was the co-star that was in the trailer never appeared in the film.
Oh, the one.
Across
the
Universe or something.
No. That was the one, the musical one. You're talking about the. Can't remember the name of it, but it's the one where the guy wakes up and he's in a world or whatever, something happens to him and the Beatles don't exist, so he starts writing their songs. Yesterday, that's the name of it.
Yesterday, thank you.
Yeah, I haven't actually watched that yet, but I've seen so much of it through osmosis that I already know the movie. So I was like, well, I guess I don't need to watch it now.
I just want to remind Andre that one of the greatest Lord of the Rings songs ever made was Misty Mountain Hop.
Is that even greater than Spock's Bilbo Baggins song?
Yes.
Okay. I'll have to
check actually three songs from Led Zeppelin that are basically throwing love at Lord of the Rings. But
they are, yeah. Those are like some of the only ones that I don't think rip off old blues songs. You might be right.
Please,
dude, seriously, go back. Look, dude, there's videos that show you the songs, and it's not. They don't even change the words.
I'm gonna go get some.
That's
tea.
the problem.
I'm gonna go get some tea. I'll be back.
Kalecki Collect
You have to
Yogi.
put something strong into that tea.
It sends in $2. It says, "Is Pascal KK? She's responsible for Morb and MW." Yeah, she's
No.
basically,
Yes and no.
and she's
Here's
not
the thing.
for these. Yeah, go ahead, Andre. You know this better.
She's not responsible for Morbius, and she is not responsible for Madame Web in its current form. However, Madame Web in its current form can trace its lineage to Glass Ceiling, which is the all-female Spider-Man team that Amy Pascal has pushed for years. So in this sense, she is indirectly responsible for Madame Web. She's not at all responsible for Morbius. That one is all Avi Arad and Matt Tolmach, because they are the ones who are producing the Sony Spider-Man, the less Spider-Man movies.
I was going to say, basically, from my
Pascal,
understanding, if it doesn't have Spider-Man involved, she's not involved. But
exactly. Yeah, she is locked into everything that has Spider-Man. If it doesn't have Spider-Man, she's not locked into it. And then Avi Arad and Matt Tolmach wants nothing to do with her. So then she's not involved.
You know, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if that might be part of the reason that Peter Parker was involved with the original Spider-Verse movie. Then again, it does go with the story, so whatever.
That would also probably be why they didn't actually say the name Peter Parker on screen in this movie, because if they did, they'd have to have Amy Pascal.
And or, like I said, I don't think the MCU would allow it. Because that also goes back, and maybe it's time to dig up one of those videos and reiterate this, because I've gotten a lot of questions about this in the last few days, Andre. So I'm not kidding. There may be a reiteration video and just exactly how the whole 25% MJ thing factors into this, because people are still confused about that. So ActionComs asked a question here for $5. Andre, didn't the Russian crash a nuclear submarine off the coast of Norway, and now it's Chernobyl in waiting?
I'm sure there's a couple of Russian submarines lying under the North Sea, a couple of places. We know that the Russians have even done nuclear testing north of Norway. Like some of the Russian islands are in relatively short distance of Norway. Like, for instance, the biggest nuclear bomb ever detonated, the Tsar Bomba, was detonated on Russian land. You could hear the shockwaves in Norway. Yeah, maybe there's an underwater Chernobyl in waiting off the coast of Norway. The beauty is that there's a lot of water to wash it away, so I'm not overtly worried.
So yeah, we're going to put a pin in the super chats for just a few minutes, because you sent a story here in the background, Andre. I think you want to get to quick before we wrap things up.
Yeah, especially since we have it in the show plan.
Now this is something
by on screen.
Yeah, and this is something we've actually been kind of discussing ourselves in the background for the last few weeks, and how it's pretty obvious that the MCU is being retooled. I mean, I don't think you need to be Sherlock fucking Holmes to figure that one out at this point. Because I think I'm still proud of that tweet where I said, "Don't worry, folks. There's not that big of a problem with Captain America 4. They're just reshooting 3 sequences. That's all. Act 1, 2, and 3."
Yeah.
Yeah. Indeed. As we figured, that's being completely reshot. We've heard, rumors of the other one with Harrison Ford being reshot, or the
Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts. That's what I was trying to think.
Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts.
That's
on the cusp of them dropping probably some of their bigger films like Deadpool this year and stuff like that. We just come out of a Madame Web bombing horribly at the box office, and funnily enough, it actually had the same spot that the original Deadpool flourished in. If you guys will recall out there in the chat, Deadpool opened, was it 2016, February?
Yeah, it was the 14th of February, 2016, Valentine's Day. They put out like a Valentine's trailer and everything.
Yep.
And it was it broke records, because at that point, January and February are not really been known for movies.
Yeah, there's a term for it.
There's fuck you, it's January, and it's fuck you, February.
That's right.
And basically Deadpool changed the game, and the Deadpool is the reason why for the last 5, 6, 7 years we've gotten big movies dropping on Valentine's Day weekend. So what happened?
Yeah, who knows what happened? Either way, something happened. Something went very, very wrong. And now Marvel are in a position where they're quietly retooling. And one of the things that they mention here is how they're, in my opinion, not retooling enough. Because what they say here, the things that they address in this article is that Marvel is not slowing down, they're not rebooting, they're just like slightly creatively retooling a tiny little bit. And that's the gist of it. They are in this article, they address how they are moving on from Jonathan Majors, trying to minimize his presence. How, oh, you don't really need to do that much. They did that just like one day of reshoots on Agatha all along. And they talk a little bit about reshoots. And my worry here, after reading this thing, is they're not retooling nearly enough. Because why is Agatha all along still coming out? Why is Captain America 4 still coming out? Why is all of this stuff that is MCU still coming out? If they wanted to retool, I think they should have scrapped all of this and just stuck with Deadpool, try to salvage what can be salvaged of X-Men 97, then rebuild from there. See what they can do with Fantastic Four onwards. Just end everything they're doing right now, which clearly isn't working, but they're not doing that. Cultured, what's your thoughts on this?
Well, because they're still too ingrained in the message. They can't pull back from their own. We were talking about it earlier. Their own eye chart of these are the boxes you have to check, or you can't make your film. They can retool all they want, but if you are already starting at a point where you're compromised by all these other efforts, you're going to get what you're going to get, which means you're going to have activist writers, and you still have the main dumbass that's in charge of producing all of these films. And I'm not talking about Feige. I can't remember the other guy's name, but he's been a producer on every single one of these films, and he's been steering this boat towards this culmination. Like I said, I mean, they presented us a beautiful piece of Americana in the form of a Valentine's Day card that announced the Fantastic Four. They're doing more animation versions of it still, or at least this is probably one from Hollywood Reporter, but the idea is still there. We're going to try to put a fresh coat of paint on our message. It's just not, if that's what the retooling is, no thank you. So I look, I have very low expectations for anything coming out of Disney, and that includes the new Deadpool Wolverine film. I don't know if do you think it's going to be good, Andre? Because honestly, this is the point in time where you have one last chance to try to make something good, Disney. That's it. If this isn't good, if this isn't pure Ryan Reynolds,
yeah, I think that Deadpool 3 is going to be fine. I'm not worried about Deadpool 3. I'm worried about what comes after, because I think, you know what I think? I think that Deadpool 3 is going to be just fine, just like Spider-Man No Way Home before it. And like Spider-Man No Way Home, it's another fluke. And I say it's a fluke because after it, you go straight back to the MCU and the same poorly planned drivel that came before it, and that there's more of after it. And that is what's killing the MCU. Like Deadpool 3 alone isn't going to do anything. Not when what follows isn't up to the same standard as Deadpool 3, but rather more of the same as came before and brought us to this position in the first place. Now, elsewhere, as we spoke about earlier, you have like this Disney executive who complained by way of Matthew Baloney that Bob Iger is shifting gears a little bit, and he's, because the audience is demanding more white men leads, he's doing that. But I don't see any hint of that here. I mean, they talk about how they're going to be like slowly retooling. Where's the retooling? I don't see any signs of it. I mean, if they want to save the MCU, they need to make a bolder statement than just putting out Deadpool 3.
But they can't, Andre.
All the crap. You know, this is the problem that they've locked themselves into.
Because
they could if they wanted to.
Because like Gary just tweeted out here a little bit ago, he says, don't call it a reboot, right? Like that's just it. They can't admit failure. Now we're not going to see it, but we are seeing it, Andre. That's where I disagree with you. We're seeing a lot of retooling. I agree they should just scrap Captain 4 and Agatha and Ironheart and Thunderbolts, but I'll put it like this. I'm not confident they're going to fix anything, and I'll tell you why when I get to the other end of this real quick. But I do feel like there's some retooling going on in the background. But I would be willing to give them the benefit of the doubt that those 4 projects that I just mentioned are basically like what DC had to deal with when James Gunn took over. You know, you just got to get them done and out of the way. Later on, they're not going to matter, but for right now, they just have to be tossed out there because they're already been this far along.
Problem is that right now, those things are going to destroy the
I agree with you. I agree with you.
They should just cancel.
And those are face-saving measures more than they're money-saving measures, and that's the problem. Because here's the thing where you have here, and this is what they're not doing, is you have the benefit of being able to scrap all that other shit now that you've gotten past your main Avengers. You've got Deadpool, X-Men, and Fantastic Four to work with for the next 5 to 10 years, right? And Spider-Man still technically. So you have some of your strongest properties. Fuck Ironheart. Fuck all this other shit. Even fuck shit like the Hulk.
Too, by the way.
I know, and I brought that up. And I'm even saying fuck all that shit, and even fuck shit like the Hulk, as much as I'd love to see a Hulk movie. You've got 4 of these properties. That should be what they're concentrating on right now. And they should be using those 4 properties to rebuild the Marvel Universe with. Now, what they're going to do is what they're doing with like X-Men 97 and what we're seeing with Fantastic Four, and that is bait and switch us by saying, look at this. This looks like what you want to see. And then once we get into it, we're going to see it's not what we thought it was, right? It may look like and kind of feel at first like what we thought it was, but it's going to be the same old MCU. I think you're right, Andre. Nothing is going to change. They're just going to change the package that it's coming in. And then that way it's still not also a reboot, so they can save some face there. And I agree with you. This whole thing's a fucking mess. They literally should be using Deadpool to just blow this whole thing up and start from zero.
They don't have
now
time
that you have
to
the
wait
X-Men
for
and
Secret
Fantastic
War.
Four.
Yeah. They don't have time to wait for Secret War to do it. If they want to fix the MCU, they need to do so now.
That's what I'm saying. I agree with you. Fuck Secret War. Fuck, it's done. You need to reboot the entire MCU, and the fact that you don't want to sit there and try to do it with Iron Man and all those guys first, great. Start in the 60s like I fucking said, with the Fantastic Four, move into the 70s with the fucking X-Men, and then you introduce Spider-Man along the way and all that kind of shit. You let Tom Holland, the Spider-Man movies are done. Sorry, Tom. I know it was the biggest fucking movie of all time, but let's be real. The only movie is the biggest movie of all time because you had all the Spider-Man in it. If you want to go make 3 more Spider-Man movies with just all the Spider-Man, they'll do great. Fine, do that in the interim, but then don't expect to see Spider-Man in the MCU for a few years because you'll introduce him in the 80s phase. That's what they should be doing. And their phases should be decades instead of fucking phases of stories or whatever the fuck they're doing anymore. Because I don't even know what consists of a phase. That's the other problem. There's no like time frame on their phases other than, oh, they beat this big bad guy, now we're starting over with a new phase. Well, then they fucked that up with the last phase when they just up and decided we're ending phase 4 here and this is where the new phase is beginning now. And then they just decided they're just going to demarcate it there when it was supposed to be a different line somewhere down the line with Kang or whatever. But anyway, that being said, rant aside, they're not going to fix this. This is done. It's over with. I don't see any of these things being any good. I have probably the least amount of fucking faith in Deadpool 3. Like I was so disappointed by that trailer, and I don't think I need to, hide that fact as we saw on the show that day that we reviewed it. It was just like, yeah, I'm not sold on this. This is making me feel less excited now because I feel like all I got to do now is homework the fucking movie. And that's the problem with the MCU in general, more so than any of the woke bullshit. Fuck the woke bullshit, because I know plenty of people who don't care about that fact, but they're just getting sick. And I've heard more people just gripe in my personal life, about, I don't want to have to watch 20 fucking shows to understand a movie. I can't even get a friend to go see a Marvel movie with me now because they don't want to have to follow all this shit. Like Guardians 3 was the only movie that I could remotely get anybody to go see with me because nobody else gave a shit about any other Marvel movies around it.
I've noticed the same in my trend as well. Like the people I used to watch the stuff, they've lost interest. Culture, do you find the same?
Yeah.
Do you find yourself more and more alone when you see these movies?
Yeah, well, yeah, I should actually start to take lots of photos because not only will people not go with me, there's not a lot of people going with anybody.
Yeah.
I'm often struck by the fact that it doesn't matter when I see it. I know I see films early and I see films at off times. I see them in previews and things like that. I know that's all true. But at times when I'm actually dragged to see something a second time, which happens, or at times which I feel compelled to see something a second time because I just can't believe what I saw, I oftentimes go at times when normal people would go to a movie. With that being said, the theaters aren't any more full. There are a few exceptions, and they're just rare. Like outside of the Barbie preview that I went to, which was a special event, um, I haven't been in a theater that full outside of one exception, which would be the Godzilla -1 film. That was a completely packed IMAX theater to the rafters. Nobody wants to see these Marvel films. Just returning to the original thing, I haven't been in a packed Marvel theater in a long time. Long time. Even went to a regular showing of Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania. That wasn't even a third full. Asking people to go to movies, they ask me now. Like family members, they don't trust me anymore. Not because I'm giving them bad information, but because I'm going to see every movie that maybe they're always like, well, is this going to be good? And I say, well, this is what happens in it, and then they don't go.
Well, you have to be honest and say no. That's what I am with my friends who ask me, "Hey, is this one worth watching, or is it like the others?" I'm like, "No, I see it because I have to. You don't, so don't." This is like I'm quite honest about that.
Yeah. Yeah, it leaves limited options. Like I said, I had no trouble getting people to go to see Dune with me. None. So
No, I'm becoming more
Oh, yeah, I
optimistic
probably could
about
too.
Dune's prospects now when we see just how big the re-release of the first one was in a very limited. And it did
yeah,
amazing.
Told y'all.
I'm still
Yeah, you
torn.
did.
I'm still torn because there are still there's a special early preview event that's coming up here on the 25th, which is Sunday night.
I still say you should go, dude. I'm going. And I'm going even though I got to sit in the front fucking row in an IMAX.
Ooh.
Because
I
I
also
didn't
say
get my
you should go
tickets.
cultured.
I didn't get my tickets early enough. I didn't know about it until way late. And I'm like, well, fuck it. I'm stuck in the nosebleeds, or not the opposite of the nosebleeds, the neck.
Yeah, you're gonna
neck
get
breakers.
lots of you are going to have extreme crotch shots, bro. So enjoy those. But no, I can still go to many of the IMAX special events if I want to. They're not sold out. So it comes down to, do I not want to sleep? Because it would be crazy late at night.
You say that, but normally that's when you stream anyway, dude. Because sorry, this is shop talk practically, but
Sorry,
anyway,
guys.
we'll deal with this after the show.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, let's finish up this Marvel talk so we can get back into super chats here because look, nobody's surprised by this. We've been kind of loosely reporting on a lot of this shit for a while. What this is though, this is the mainstream media saying this now, and Disney can't keep dodging these bullets, no matter how many not Matt Baloney, but the other guy who tweeted out that thing, and but the guys who have me blocked, Mendelsohn and stuff, like those guys, nobody takes them seriously anymore anyway. So look, they know they need to change. We know they need to change. I just don't. I think I'm with you, Andre. I don't think the change is going to be hard enough or soon enough. Like a prom date, this needs to come hard and fast.
Indeed. And with that, let's move on with the super chats.
Let's do. Unless Culture had anything more to add.
No, Marvel's doomed.
Yeah. Matthias Fredrikson's in the house and sends in 20 Swedish krona, I believe that is. Says, real news from Sweden. Season 2 will be skittigare. Did I say it right this time?
Not quite. It says season 2 will be skitigare.
Skitigare.
Yeah. What do you think it means? Skitigare.
Shit something.
It'll be even shittier than the first one.
That's what I was thinking. Something along those lines. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. That's pretty much it. Mecca J says with $5, according to Queen, Michael Jackson actually suggested they release another one, Bites the Dust, as a single, and they did, and it became a hit. Yes, it did. And I think that is a true story. Shatnerific is here. It says, "Hey Tom, how about the Stones? Still rolling?" Yes, they are. Yes, they are. They're on like their 15th final tour or whatever, like Kiss.
I'm impressed with that.
Are we sure it's really the Rolling Stones? It's not like some kind of AI.
No,
illusion.
what I mean is that considering everything that has gone through their veins,
I know, right?
I'm surprised that they're able to, for the first, that they're still alive, and that they're still able to stand up straight and perform and be in reasonably good shape, actually above average good shape for their age, because they work out and everything like that. But just considering everything that's gone through their veins, I mean, there must have been some steroids or something in there. Like, were they lied to us about the corrosive effect of substance? Because, yeah, I mean,
Well,
whatever they took, it worked.
Yeah,
I've always
well,
joked that, like, you know, like when what's his face, the
Keith Richards.
Keith Richards, you know, he's taken so much fucking drugs and shit. Like,
He's
yeah.
mostly drugs.
I figured when he got hit in the head with that coconut, that was what was going to kill him, not the drugs. But yeah,
that was a weird story, wasn't it? Holy cow! I love the Stones, but they're not, none of them are alive. They're zombies. They just don't know it yet.
Yeah, either way, whether they'll be alive or not, they certainly look far more alive than other people their age or even younger, and I remain impressed.
Yeah. And let's keep moving on. We've got Jason Webster sending another 5 and says, highly recommend the Japanese group Wagaki Band. I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly. Wagaki Band, but we'll just say go with that.
Wagaki Band. I'll look this
Yeah,
up.
that was dangerously close to something else, Tom.
I don't even know what it was. There was a vibrant fusion of hard rock and traditional Japanese folk music. They are amazing. Oh,
that sounds very interesting.
Oh, you mean Bukaki? Yeah. Jason Webster. Oh, Bandmade is the best rock group in the world. Bandmade? I'm not sure if I've ever heard of them, Jason Webster. You're throwing out some. Okay. I'm assuming they're another Japanese band or something like that.
This sounds like some K-pop band or something.
Yeah,
like
that's
that,
what I'm
just
thinking.
from the name.
Jason's from Australia. So.
Or it could be Australian rock bitch for all we know. Yeah.
But with that, we are caught up on our super chats. So there you go. And then some Running with Scissors also says they're great. So there you go. There's another recommendation.
Running with
Scissors. What you got going on?
Running with Scissors is dangerous. Public service announcement. What I got going on? I've got to figure out a new video to do. I just have to wait until about 2:00 in the afternoon or so when the next Disney lawsuit releases, and I'll put a video together.
Yeah, it's funny how you can set your time to them.
No, it's insane. You can check out, that's the video I did yesterday, and I worked on it for a while and did a lot of reading.
It was a great video, and everyone should go check it out right after this.
But now I've got to research something else entirely. Apparently, one of the other folks that we all know released a video on how Disney uses bots to manipulate everything from their stock price to their film reviews. And that's fascinating to me. So I've got to do a bunch of research. But no, I get to hang out with y'all 3 times a week if I can, sometimes just twice. And I'm just grateful to be here. Tomorrow is the HCast. I think all of us will try to appear there and talk intelligently about something. And other than that, I'm just got to search for information to pass on to everybody. That's all I do.
Yeah. And I'll think about starting a Midnight's Edge metal, since we really weren't talking about music.
Yeah.
And yes, I would include the Beatles into Midnight's Edge metal because it was a precursor. Hell, I'd even include Kiss into Midnight's Edge metal, even though their music isn't metal. Their influence on metal is undeniable.
No, you couldn't.
For real. There wouldn't be either Ghost or Rammstein without Kiss. But sorry, Culture, you were saying.
No, I was just going to say, for all Tom's love of the Stones, he doesn't acknowledge that they stole all their songs too from blues artists.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
At least they changed some of the lyrics.
No. Brown Sugar?
Sometime. Brown Sugar? Well, yeah. Well,
Everyone steals everything from everyone else, and in an era where Kanye West steals stuff from Norwegian black metal, everything is possible. So yeah, that's a thing, by the way.
I just think Led Zeppelin's a little overrated. That's all. I just had to pick on culture. Go listen to Billy Joel's song. Let me know what you think. And with that, yeah, it's Wednesday. I don't know what's going on anymore. So we'll see you later at some point. I'm sure I'll be on physical media tonight. 4K for you working on an episode soon, because there is actually a lot of news going on there. Disney Movie Club shut down, and Sony is taking over Disney's distribution. And
Tom, my argument is that they're doing that because they want to data capture. Data capture. Sorry, Tom.
I saw that. I did see that. But you know what? That's why I don't have my Blu-ray player online.
Smart.
Yeah.
Anything else, Andre?
Yeah, I got the question here. I just want to get it up on screen here.
Yeah, Love Bites better.
SFXF314 Saber-Tooth Raptor wonders, Andre, have you heard of Nightwish Band? Not only have I heard of them, I have seen them live, I think, 4 times. 3 with Tarja and 1 with Thor Jansen.
Then Hyperguyver 2 sends in $2 just to say that Love Bites is better than Bandmade. Devil Horn. Oh, he's trying some. I don't think that's what it means. That's a song.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And Jeff says Kanye stole from Norway. No way. Yeah, look it up. It was like quite a thing. Like some people were like really shocked by it, because he stole his album cover from Burtsum, and he even appeared in a Burtsum T-shirt in the promotional picture for like his new project, like Vultures or whatever.
I heard he's into fish sticks.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, there you go. I'm not a Kanye fan at all. I don't think he's no musical genius. I think he's like Puff Daddy version 0.0.
Oh,
oh my gosh, 6 gifted 5 memberships. Go to bed, 6.
Yeah, go to bed.
Thank you though for that.
Well,
and hopefully you're one of the recipients.
For all the help behind the scenes and for gifting memberships. So
she needs to get to bed,
of course
though.
is the cue for everyone. Go and claim those and join us for the membership stream.
That's right.
Sunday.
Thank you very much for reminding everybody that we will have a member stream on Sunday.
Oh,
so I have to get up early Sunday.
Member.
But I do it for you guys. So hopefully you're here to talk to us. So that'll be fun. And with that, we are caught up, and everybody's thanking Six who got a everybody who got a membership from her. Make sure you thank her, and hopefully we'll see you Sunday. And with that, Andre,
it is time for some koalas in the rain.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given, koalas